You know when you have, when your nail goes rogue and a piece just decides to start growing next to it?
I'm sorry, what? No.
You don't know what I'm talking about? This isn't happening to you?
Do you have fingernail cancer?
So, like...
If so, I mean, it sounds like it's eminently treatable.
Sounds serious. No, it's like...
Oh, that smells so good.
I don't know how... I mean...
Sorry, I didn't know we should...
Oh, it does smell good.
Wow. I know we should save that on air, but I caught like a stray whiff. Is that what you're going to call me now?
No, it sounds like... you know those, like, name generators? Like, if you just sign up for Xbox Live and don't choose...
Oh, I thought it was going to be one of those, if you take the first letter of your first name.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your beer hooker name. Hello, and welcome to episode 222 of Flix in the Six. Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What are you doing? Who are you talking to? What are you talking about? They use that drop all the time in Cinephobe, and I never knew which movie it was from. I know I'd heard it before, but I didn't know it was from this. And so when that scene happened, I was like, "Oh my god, this is the!" I felt like Leonardo in what's called. I was like, "Oh, this is the thing. They do it all the time." Yeah. Well,
I love that you and Leo are on a first name basis.
Well, I said, "Yeah, the Leo meme." You know,
I thought you said you know how Leonardo does.
No, I said the Leo thing from what's it called? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They do that all the time in Cinephobe, specifically. Whenever they've had this running bit for some while now, where when they do a movie, especially a movie from a time, now that they can look back at that, and it's like they go through the cast list and they're like, yeah, and you know who this person is, right? Yeah, they say it, whatever. And they're like, this person at this time was the next Jim Carrey, and they play something from some stupid interview. I don't even remember who it was, where she says like, "Oh, you remind me of a young Jim Carrey," and they play this whole thing with all these different Jim Carrey drops in it, and that's one of them.
Awesome.
And the whole thing was someone who's like, "Oh, this is going to be the next big thing," and they're like everything for 2 years worth of movies and shows, and then you never see them again.
Yeah.
Whoever that's one of those actors or actresses, that's who they do that with.
I love it. Well, I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me forever and always, the man, the myth, the star, Alessandro Biolsi. Say hello, Al.
If I don't see you, have a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night.
Why are you putting a weird twist on the exact words? You worry about copyright infringement or something?
No, I just couldn't remember the exact words, so I wrote it down and paraphrased it.
We'll allow it. On this week's episode, we've got some limited news, a decent amount of consumption, and other musings, all before diving into our flick of the week. Maybe you've guessed it already, maybe not. The Truman Show. But first, Al, what's on tap?
Oh, we're changing it up, huh? The whole thing, the whole intro is all changed, right?
You know what's funny is for...
Did you forget your thing?
No, for a good year, the template that I have has said that, and I don't reference the page, and I just happened to catch my eye. I write it down, and then I don't look at the actual things that I wrote down, which is why I can't actually go back and find out what some of the things are that I've called you, because they're not what they say in the notes. I would have to listen to all the episodes.
What? I don't understand how that's possible.
What do you mean?
You've had a running list for a long time, but you just do whatever on the given episode, and you don't write it on that. Okay, because I keep every episode. I have notes that has the beer in it in case I forget.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better about it.
Okay, and to be fair, my notes have become way streamlined from what they used to be, because I don't tend to write very much in the way of formal notes for the movie outside of my Toot-length review and the score. And even for it's just bullet points for news and nuggets and stuff like that, just so it'll give me jumping off points.
Yeah.
And especially if we record most of the time on Wednesday nights. I can't tell you how many times on Thursday morning I see a big story and it's fuck, why didn't this story come out 24 hours ago? We could have done this on the show. So I will create the note for the next week, and I will link that story because for sure I will forget it by Friday, which I didn't do this week, which is why I have basically no news this week. But
that's a lot more upfront work than I do.
It depends. On the good weeks, it's a thing that I create during the course of the week. On the bad weeks, like this week, I did it an hour ago.
I will say I remember like a time early on where I had a paper and pen at the movies.
Analog notes.
Yeah, and I realized I don't need to take notes on the movies. Like my film retention is absurd. I don't understand why.
You have much better first time viewing retention than I do.
Yeah, but I just don't do it anymore. And but kind of similar to what you're saying, if there's something very specific that I think is really funny or that I want to talk about that I just want to make sure I don't forget to talk about, I'll usually write like a single bullet point down for it. Most of my episode notes don't even have they have a notes section with nothing in there for like that part of the show these days. But like, yeah, that's kind of what I use it for, because I find that like once we read the intro or the IMDb synopsis, we pretty much can roll from there. Yeah,
it shocked me because you always say, so tell me, what are we drinking? And this time you didn't do that, and I was like, what is happening? It was like you take 1 week off, you go. I was going to say vacation, but that wasn't a vacation. You go on a work trip for like 2 days, and all of a sudden you're going to change up all the things. We're doing cold opens. We're doing, we had a lot of technical difficulties for no good reason, and also some user error. We got all sorts of stuff.
That's fair.
Anyway, what we're drinking. District 96. We've done one beer from them like 2 years ago, and we're going to do a second now.
What was the movie? District 9.
District 9. For sure. District 96, Sleepy Joe. It's possible that's a play on words in reference to a common nickname for our current president. It's also possible that it's a double entendre because this is a coffee cream ale. And, sometimes you have a little sleepy times. You can just wake up with a cup of Joe. Helpfully, though, this actually says decaffeinated on it, which is kind of cool.
Huh.
Coffee cream ale, 6.5% alcohol by volume. It's a pint, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that is all I can tell you about this beer.
Yeah, it's not
shockingly and devoid of written words on here, with the exception of the typical government warnings, with the exception of the naturally processed, unfiltered beer brewed and canned at District 96 Beer Factory in New City, New York, which I have visited. This and the one we did, whenever that was, both came from that trip. There's for how much white space is on this can.
Yeah.
They could have give us a little bit of storytelling. And they've chosen not to.
I do like a good negative space can art, though. This is good.
But the top of the banner of the can is pretty cool because it's a whole bunch of coffee
grind.
Yeah. That's
cool. I like it. I like their logo. It took me a minute for my brain to process it, but it's two D's mirroring each other and overlapping, but if you lazy focus on it, you see the 96 inside.
Yes.
Like that. That's cool.
Very cool. It's almost like one of those
Magic Eye posters.
No, I was gonna say
it's a schooner.
No, it's not. It's a boat, you idiot. Oh no! Sorry, it's the other way around.
You dumb bastard! It's a sailboat.
What the hell is? I forget what the thing is called, but it's that word art thing that when you flip it, it's the same word both directions. It was in
anagram.
No,
it's a word spelled the same way forward and backwards.
No, it's a palindrome.
Huh.
An anagram is a word made from a recombination of the same letters.
Palindrome. That's right.
But no, the thing I'm thinking of, I can't remember what it's called, but it was heavily featured in that Dan Brown book. It was not Da Vinci Code, the other one, Angels and Demons. Yeah, and I forget what it's called, but they each had the tattoo with a different. Was it one of the seasons on it or whatever?
I actually don't know what you're talking about, but I'm interested.
Oh, what the fuck is that word? That's I'm going to get caught up on this if I can't.
Nah, that's fine. I'm with you. That's what the show's all about.
Ambigram.
Ambigram? You made that up.
No, Ambigrams. It's a typographical palindrome featured in the novel Angels and Demons.
Ah.
If you look up a picture of his, they look pretty cool. The whole thing was it started with the Illuminati. Illuminati was, you can read it forward and backwards, or if like you flipped it and rotated it like 180 degrees. And so each of the things, I think it was like earth, wind, fire, and water, or whatever. Each
relax, Captain Planet.
Yeah, well, one of there was a whole thing where there's like 4 different like riddles or whatever around the city, and each place there's someone with that tattoo of one of those words, and it's flipped around and stuff like that. I couldn't remember what the name for the term was, but it was like very heavily featured in that book. So that's what this reminds me of. If you look up a picture of an ambigram, specifically if you look up the ambigram for Illuminati, you'll see what I'm kind of getting at. That it's not the same thing as this, but that's what it conjured in my mind.
Whoa. That's
right?
Cool.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at an ambigram of ambigram. That's the Diane Kruger of ambigrams.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and it's a GIF, and it spins. It spins around and becomes itself again.
Okay.
Wildly satisfying.
You want to talk about another tangent inside of this tangent?
Hell yeah.
You want to talk about Diane Kruger?
Sure, always.
So, the other night, me and my dad were watching the Yankee game. And they started a new thing on Yes Network during the game where they used to do like a trivia thing randomly. Now they're doing this name that player. And they pick a player who played for the Yankees at some point in their career. Most of them are pretty obscure. And what they do is they say, hey, this person, and they give you like a list of like career statistics. And then they say every team they played for each year of their career with the logo of the team at that time. So like even like some teams that are still like current day teams in their current cities, like if they played there in like 1965, they show the logo from then, not the current day logo.
Okay.
And they show the whole thing, and they give you an inning or two to try and guess who it is. So there's one the other night. I was like, I have no idea. They played for the Yankees like 2 years in the early 1970s. It was like when the Yankees came back to being the Yankees and won a couple World Series. So I have no fucking idea who this would be. And I was like, but I was with my dad. I was like, you know, because like this was like during your childhood, you'd probably be able to guess or whatever. And he was thinking about it, yeah, whatever. He couldn't think of who it was. So they come out and they say it, the next inning or whatever. It's the catcher Rick Dempsey. He was on the Yankees for like I said 2 or 3 years. He backed up Thurman Munson, who was like star Yankee player. He's the guy who died in a plane crash in the 70s after they won a couple World Series. Yeah, sad story. So anyway, Rick Dempsey. I was like, I've never heard of that person. My dad's like, oh yeah, I remember him. He was a backup. He played for a while, whatever. So the next day, I'm listening to a podcast. The podcast is called Pablo Torre Finds Out. Pablo Torre is a sports writer. He's probably a couple years older than you. He's part of the whole Meadowlark, expanded universe. That is a Meadowlark show. He worked at Sports Illustrated. He worked at ESPN, whatever. So the whole premise of this show is all these different things that he finds interesting or amusing or very odd about sports. He will do a journalism to find out about it. Yeah. Or he will have one of his friends do a little bit of research and have them on the show. Or sometimes he just has 2 or 3 of his friends on and they do kind of like a round table and each of them brings a story that they read or found interesting and they talk about it, whatever. So there's a couple of different formats to the show depending on what they're doing. So that next day they're doing on Pablo Torre Finds Out, a show that they recorded weeks ago. Because a bunch of them, like, they air it. He'll do a little preamble. It's like, hey, this is an interview we did 3 months ago. We're ready to run it now. Whatever. Sometimes it's because it lines up with something. Sometimes it's just like that's what the schedule yielded or whatever. The story was about Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich, 2 Yankees pitchers in the 1970s who, if you know those names, they did a wife swap in the 1970s. They both pitched for the Yankees. They were best friends. And actually, as they talk about it on the show, wasn't really a wife swap, although that's how it's always referred to. It was really a husband swap when you think about it, because they weren't just trading wives. Each of them had like 2 kids, and the kids stayed with the mother with the new husband.
Huh.
And also, like, the houses and all of it. Like, it was literally just the 2 guys ended up on the other side of the equation. it was this whole huge thing. There was like these like allegations. Are they not allegations? I guess the way it came out was it started off as kind of a haha, we're doing something funny after a party, and it turned into they were kind of swinging, but just with each other's wives.
Oh my God.
And they finally like the whole team figures out. The reporters figured it out. Everyone's asking questions about it. They had to do two press conferences at spring training, like of like the before the start of the next season or whatever, to announce, this is a thing that's happening. Everyone's agreed to it. Whatever, it's fine. It's cool. It's not weird. You guys are being weird, actually, because they didn't want the questions hanging over all of them. They figured whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever you want to ask, we're doing it now, and then we're not talking about it again anymore after this. Which, on its own, tremendously interesting story. I was aware of this phenomenon. I always forget the names of the guys because they played 20 years before I was watching the Yankees. But during the course of it, they interviewed some of the sports writers, including someone who wrote like a book about it, and then they interviewed one or two of the players on the team. And the one guy who went on and talked about it for a while was Rick Dempsey, who I'd never heard before 12 hours before. And I was like, what are the odds? I was like, this is impossible. It's like, this is the Krugerest Kruger of them all. Like,
seriously.
Don't understand.
That's amazing. Oh, my goodness.
Because he was the catcher, and he caught both pitchers. Like, and like, I guess he's, for whatever reason, because he was the catcher, he had a closer relationship with him than maybe some of the other players had with the two pitchers or whatever. Super weird story. That's an awesome show. It's one of those ones where even I like I listen to almost all of them, but every once in a while there's just a topic where I'm like, I'm just not super interested. So if I get to it, I get to it. If not the end of the world. There's other ones where like I saw that and I was like, you know what? I've heard about the story. I don't actually know any details. It's a 35-minute episode talking about this Yankees pitcher swapping lives. Let me listen to the episode. Boom, Rick Dempsey, Diane Kruger.
I got Rick Dempsey.
I did. I got Dempsey.
That's amazing. That is a great story. Anyway,
so this beer.
Ooh, that actually clinked. That was nicer.
So I will get right back to it because me and Anthony we always try to crack the beer beforehand now because Anthony's got his preloaded sound of cracking beers and all that for the show transitions. Cracked this beer. Poured it. Me and Anthony were talking. We were like kind of getting towards the, hey, what are we going to talk about? Whatever. And I like poured the beer gently. And as I went to put the beer down in front of me, I leaned and I caught a stray whiff of this beer. And oh boy, does it smell delightful.
Yeah, it is something. I mean, like coffee cream ale, right? And like it tastes like, well, first off, obviously it has the mouthfeel and the immediate taste is cream
coffee.
Soda. I think cream soda right away. But then I think like a kind of maybe like a stretched out brew, like maybe of coffee. Like it was like a little watered down, but it's not bad because it's like subtle in the beer. And it's all there. It's like both of those things like side by side. Weirdly, I feel like they're not like melding together. I just get one and then the other and I'm okay with it. It's really tasty.
It almost feels like you're getting like yo-yoed between the two. It's like coffee, cream, coffee. I always think when I think coffee cream ale, I'm always like, the coffee is just going to dominate the cream ale. Like, it's just not going to work. When I think coffee, I think dark beer. It melds really nicely together with that. This is a really good example. Newberg has done a coffee beer like this where it's like a lighter base beer, but with coffee in it. And it's like, and they've done coffee with a couple of their beers where it works really well like this, where the two sides, even though they're on opposite ends, they kind of play in perfect harmony. Mm-hmm. This one's definitely doing that.
Yeah.
I really like it, even despite the fact that this beer is pretty old. Like, that aroma really punches, aroma is definitely a thing that can fade with an older beer.
Yeah.
And this beer does not taste old at all. This tastes...
No, it doesn't. I would be curious if it were more fresh, if the coffee flavor would be more robust.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I think it's great in there.
I think it's perfect, yeah.
You get a little bit of that, a subtle undertone of like caramel and toffee as well. Mm. With that, like you said, that creamy coffee, like mouthfeel to it. It's funny. The color is like kind of golden for a beer that's pretty light body. That I wonder if it's because they're aging it on the coffee grounds, if it imparted any bit of color to it, because most beers are dark that have it, so you wouldn't notice it. And it does have a really pleasant, like, good head retention. I like how this is effervescing with, like, how crystal clear. Despite it being unfiltered, it's almost crystal clear.
Did you? I stopped at the end because there's definitely some chunk at the bottom of my can. There's weight in my can.
I didn't notice, but yeah, I also actually, I poured 98% of that beer out, so maybe you just got a dud because mine is is clear. It tastes fresh. I don't see chunks. For a dud,
it is quite delicious. I'm diving in. I'm going Trace Thuckles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is
a wholehearted, full-throated 3 Thuckles.
There's what? God.
I gotta keep you on your toes.
I was gonna say I completely lost what I was gonna say. I want you to know that. I want you to know you did that to me.
I'm like Muhammad Ali, like rope-a-dope, like, and just bam. Just they all fought like God.
Yeah, it's like a wine.
It's basically what I did was, Princess Bride when they're fighting, and like he's like, he flips his hand. It's like, oh no. Mm-hmm. Where did that come
from? Amazing. Well, good choice on this one. And do we have a?
Nope. Can't tell how old it is. Could have been last week.
Just yeah.
For all you know, I snuck into your house and stuck this in your fridge last week.
It's a pre-move beer for sure.
I remember getting this beer because I remember going to District 96. I can't quote you the date, but it's it's almost certainly 2022.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's get into some news and nuggets. Or
new
Sans nugget.
What's new?
Since we last spoke, the actual Deadpool and Wolverine trailer came out.
Yes.
And I don't need any more. I was always going to go see it, but there was like little things that happen in the trailer. I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? And I'm really excited for it. And I'm really hoping that they use this movie as an opportunity to just wipe out the last, 5 years.
We did talk about that during the episode last, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because
we saw it in the teaser, we saw like the TVA.
Yeah.
And this was like an actual trailer. Mm-hmm. So like there's stuff there. There's obviously like, I don't know, we saw a couple of things. I saw a giant Ant-Man helmet. Yeah,
which apparently is from some particular run. I actually saw something about that online. So I saw that, I was like, oh, that's weird. Yeah, there was some... Actually, it might have been from like the Old Man Logan comic or something like that, where it's like far in the future, like one of whoever was Ant-Man at that point, like died as like giant Ant-Man or whatever, and there was just this massive like skeleton like in some dystopic wasteland.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got the impression based on the way that it was phrased, and like I saw like a shot from like the comic book, and it was like the way that like dinosaur bones would be, or type of thing, like across like half buried in like some wasteland type of thing. So I think that was pulled straight from
that. Looked interesting. I don't know. I do think they have an opportunity here to undo their mistakes. I don't know if they will.
I would suspect, considering this has always been kind of held at arm's length, where there was like years of debate as to whether they would even do a Disney Deadpool movie. And considering this is also the first acknowledgement, like real acknowledgement of Wolverine being in the MCU, right?
Sure.
Because we don't actually have the mutants yet.
Well, we don't have Logan specifically recognized in the MCU, but more on consumption later. There is a more direct connection to the original X-Men universe in the MCU already.
I'm sure that once you mention it, it'll probably ring or strike some sort of chord or whatever. But yeah. I mean, like, we did get Sir Patrick Stewart reprising his role in Your Door Opening. So he's reprising his role in Multiverse of Madness, but that was like in
a alternate Logan. So, or no,
right. That was
Xavier, rather. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So this will be cool. I'm just excited. I feel like those first two movies are so fun. Like,
it'll give me a reason to go back and actually watch, because it's been a while since I've seen. I've seen both of them a bunch of times, specifically the first one.
Yeah,
but it's been a while for sure. So it'd be good to go back and see those. It was good to already see some of the little bits of like the interplay. I appreciated the cocaine jokes with the woman who was his roommate.
Somewhere in this apartment is, I don't know, it was like 10 kilos of cocaine. It's hidden next to the cure for blindness.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was. But in the second movie, they show you under the floorboards the cocaine, and there's a bottle marked "Cure for Blindness," and I just love that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, but I like the whole thing about like, no, we're not allowed to use any of the innuendo. It's Kevin Feige's fault.
Yeah, I think they'll have a lot to play with because of that, so that'll be cool.
I think they I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to tweak one or two things on the margins, but I suspect this will not be used as a big record.
Well, the whole thing's been blown up. So, I mean, maybe they never intended to do anything like that, but it would be a card that they could play.
It's not blown up. I mean, if you're referring to the Majors thing, they're pressing forward. Not with him, but they are pressing forward.
They're recasting them?
I believe so.
Oh, the last thing that I read was obviously rumored, but it seemed like they were going to maybe shift directions to go Doctor Doom.
They may find some ways to do some changes here and there, but to the best of my knowledge, like
you have an out.
I don't know. You would know better than me because like you've seen Loki and stuff like that, but and I still haven't got around to it. But
yeah.
I was under the impression, unless they've changed their minds again, I thought a few months ago they said that, like, because one of the movies is like the Kang Dynasty or whatever. Like, I think that's still on the board.
That's still the name of it.
I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but I could be wrong. I've been out of that game a little bit in the last few months. So.
Well, it's just been a train wreck. It's sad. It's sad to see what it's become.
Yeah, I mean, we've both been huge fans of this series. Yeah. So.
I mean, the thing is, like, when Endgame came around, then obviously like the subsequent Spider-Man movies, which I thought were incredible, but it's like you could end it for a while and take a break, right, and then come back maybe in 5-10 years and do something new with but like, it's a cash cow. They have to keep going. Like, I understand, like, it's a business. They have to do it.
Once you get the gravy train rolling, you're incentivized not to get it to stop, right?
Right. It's just that when you look at the stories that they've put together, and I'm not, this is terrible to say and not accurate, but like, I'm going to say it anyway. I feel like I could have written some of these movies better. Like, they're not good.
So the biggest problem, I think, is it feels like there's been a lack of commitment to executing like specific visions, because despite the fact that they did in fact execute Vision multiple times.
Yeah, sure. It's true.
There's been so much, I mean, for as much as we've complained some about Star Wars being wishy-washy on some things, it's writ large a much bigger issue overall with the MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, even
there's no heart, there's no heart anymore. There's no like one driving force through in my rewatch of the Infinity Saga, I think we talked about this like last week or the week before. Like, it became very clear that once the Russo brothers appear, they become the heart and through line of the entire series, even connecting the movies before them better than they were. Like, Favreau was there first, and it was like a great launch pad, but eventually I feel like it became their thing. And it was great. Like, all of the stuff they did was great.
Well, you know what it was, is it felt like Feige passed the baton and said, listen, I'm going to be the big guy who makes sure everything keeps going on schedule, but you guys do the actual storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, he was really hands-on on that stuff early on. I don't think he was as much because he found people he trusted. And it felt like, to parallel with that, like, that was the idea to an extent. I thought what they were doing with Kennedy and Abrams, where she was going to pass that baton to Abrams, and he was just like, oh, no, thank you, and pass it again. And then, like, they didn't like what direction that was going in, I guess, or whatever. And he's like, oh, no, maybe I'll just take this back. But then he still didn't ever seem to want it back. Mm-hmm. And that's where they were at with that. Whereas in this, the Russos wanted it. They ran their leg of the race and said, okay, next person's up. But no one ever took it.
Right. Which is devastating.
Yeah.
Because it could have... I feel like there is an alternate timeline where somebody does pick it up, and this just incredible franchise just continues to thrive over the.
I wonder if it was supposed to be Gunn, and because of that falling out, if that undid that, because like the next two people outside of the Russos was Gunn and Waititi, and they both did a lot of good stuff within their like avenues of the storytelling, but they never had like the central through line. I wonder if they had hoped that one of the two of them would do it, and neither of them could or would or did. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. After Guardians, I was like blown away by James Gunn, and Guardians 2, I was like still there. And 3, I think 3 is fun and a good movie, but it's like, I feel like it starts to show that maybe he's just a little bit too wacky for me, and I don't think that it would have worked if he took the helm. And also, I have no faith in what's going on with DC. I will see. I will watch, and I will see what happens. I'll give it a try. But I don't know that he's got that.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Like, we haven't seen any of the new movies yet. Like, none of them have been even made yet. So
yeah, because I could see like his like the level of weird that he brings, that like this like the studio being like no, and like pulling back a little bit, which would prevent him from actually like fully realizing his branch of the MCU.
Know. I mean, his first movie with them was the Suicide Squad movie, and I didn't feel like they really pulled back the weird on that one.
No, I meant a Marvel.
Oh.
Like where they were like, I feel like they would have like maybe had like a little bit of a tighter grip if they were trying to pass it to him.
Maybe, I don't know. The thing is, it felt like to an extent they kind of let him do whatever he wanted with all 3 Guardians movies, and
I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters right now is that it's a goddamn mess.
It is pretty
it's a hot mess,
undeniably. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. The only like, I feel like really, really good things to come since the end, like since the end of the Infinity Saga, would be Far From Home. Right? Is that the third one? No Way Home?
No Way Home was the second one, which was after the saga.
It was after, which was great, but No Way Home, I just think is such an incredible movie.
Yeah.
And so there's that, but it stands alone. Like, even that, I feel like, is smart enough to keep an arm's length from the rest of the current MCU and be like, I'm still part of this one. Like,
I mean, Doctor Strange and his multiversal stuff is pretty heavily linked to the plot of that.
Yeah, but Doctor Strange is from the original.
Oh, I see. So you mean from like what comes after,
like Eternals and all the other stuff. The stuff.
There's been, I see it periodically, but there's this some account or someone who like made a joke about it, and like every time a new MCU movie comes out, the person reiterates it, and it's like it's been however many days since this happened, and it's the end of the Eternals when that. What do they call the names of like their version of like the gods type of thing, like what Ego was in Guardians 2?
Celestial?
Yes. Like it's been however many days since this celestial, it's the picture from the end of the Eternals where it's like half frozen to the earth. It's like, and not one mention of it in the rest of the MCU. And it's a fair point. Yeah, it would seem like that would be something that would be referenced at some point or other, that half a dead celestial is sticking out of the earth. And has been for years now, I guess.
Yeah. Man, Eternals was bad. I did not like that movie.
It should have been a show.
Sure.
I think I said that when we did the movie because, like, they do a flashback, a full flashback every time a new character is introduced.
Yeah.
And it's like that. Each of those could have been an episode of a television show.
Yeah. I don't actually remember how sour I was on it when we did the episode. It's one of those things that over time I've gotten more and more angry at it.
I dozed off when I was watching it, and I rewatched part of what I dozed off on right before we did that episode. If you go back, I'm pretty sure I said that. I was like, this is one that I'm going to have disjointed thoughts on. And my recollection of the movie is pretty disjointed. It's a weird movie. I don't know what they were going for.
Yeah. I don't think they did either. But like getting back to it, Deadpool and Wolverine looks really fun. Like, give me more Deadpool. Let's let this joke finally come to a head with him constantly referencing Logan and hating him, because it's like it's a combination of the character hating Logan and Wolverine and the fake feud of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, which is just fantastic.
I think we could call them frenemies, right?
Yeah, it's so good. It's just so good. It's so fun. It's just such a fun thing to be.
I think I did see. I think Brolin is back, but not as
is he?
Cable. I think.
Oh my
Thanos.
God! Of course.
I think he's playing some alternate old man Thanos or something like that. Like a Thanos
they
that
should
won.
Snap all of the movies post Infinity out of existence.
We'll see.
And also bring Peter back to his friends in doing so, because what a devastating scenario.
It was pretty heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking indeed. Looking forward to it. That comes out in a couple months, right? June
sounds right.
June.
Don't quote me on that.
I won't. Especially since I said it. Anything else for news and nuggets?
No, not really.
All right, yeah. It's a light week on the news. We don't know what's going on anymore. But we're going to get into some consumption because, as Al mentioned, I went on a trip. And when I go on trips, I watch movies on planes. And when I watch movies on planes, they're usually better.
So when you watch movies on planes, you have slightly inflated grades for them?
Yeah. And, I'm going to dive right in. I'm just going to dive in. And we'll go. I'm just going to go through all of these first.
Okay.
So on my way to Texas.
Flight to Texas is not that long from you.
It was like 4.5, 5 hours, something like 4.5, 5 hours, something like that.
Really, Mel?
Yeah. Yeah. But I watched the first movie was Iron Claw.
That doesn't ring a bell for some
reason. Iron Claw, about the Von Erikson wrestling family.
You know what? I actually did hear something about this.
Starring one Zac Efron. And one the Bear. I can't think of the guy's name.
The Bear?
The lead in The Bear. Jeremy Allen White. Yeah. That's the one.
Sorry, you said The Bear, and I was thinking The Machine, and I was I was like, Bert Kreischer?
Weird. All right, so what is your mileage with that story? Do you know anything about the Von Erikson family?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go based wholly on the movie. I don't know how much it deviates from reality, but I do know it doesn't really matter. It's devastating regardless.
Wait, is this isn't the murder-suicide one, is it?
No.
Okay.
No. All right, so the Von Erikson family describes themselves as cursed. There's like shitty things that happen to them throughout their life. It's bad things. Like, you know when somebody's like constantly harping on how bad things are going for them, but you're like, sometimes you have to take a little bit of responsibility for your life. You know that scenario? Mm-hmm. This is not that. There's a couple of situations like that, but my lord, was it dark. Like, some of the things that happen, you're like, yeah, like, if you, like, it would be crazy for you to not think you're cursed. Like, it's bad. But anyway, we're talking 5 brothers, okay? By the time we get introduced to the story, there are 4 brothers. The first brother dies really young. Mm-hmm. And Zac Efron is I think his name, I can't remember the character name, so I'm just going to call him Zac Efron. I think that I can't remember if it's Lucy James, but his partner, as the movie goes, they are. Can you look that up for me and confirm that that's she was in the movie? Anyway,
the actress. Okay,
yeah, they're on a date.
I was not sure if you meant the actress or the character of the movie.
They're on a date early in the movie, and she's asking him about his family and what he wants out of life and all this stuff. Wants to live on a ranch he wants all of his brothers to come and all their families, and he wants it to just be like a big ranch and everybody live there. They all live together and whatever. She gets talking a little bit, and he talks about how she said something about him having eldest brother syndrome because he's trying to protect the rest of the family. And he reveals that he's not the eldest brother, but the eldest brother died. And when he was very, very little, and he delivers this line where she was like, that must have been really hard for you. And he says, and I might butcher it, but it was something along the lines of, well, I just woke up one day and he wasn't there to play with. And I went, I can't handle this. This is too heavy. And I was like, also, why was he not up for Best Actor on this scene alone? Like, it was so moving and just so well done. And this will hold true for him throughout the movie. I think that his performance is incredible. This is
Efron?
Yeah.
Well, he might be up for stuff because this movie only came out last year, so.
Oh,
no, sorry, we already passed the.
Yeah, I think we passed the threshold.
No, I was seeing something about the Emmys, and I was getting that jumbled up in my head where that's like not calendar year. It's like from the last ceremony or whatever, which always confuses me.
So,
by the way, it was Lily James, the one from Baby Driver.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I thought so.
Yeah.
So he's a wrestler. His dad was a wrestler. He's kind of following in his footsteps. He's doing really well. He's coming up in that world. His brother Jeremy Allen White is a Olympic. What's this one?
Shot put.
What's
this one? For those of you who are listening and can't see this, which is all of you, it's Anthony doing a shot put inside of his computer chair.
I'm glad that I knew exactly what it was. He's an Olympic, that one, and he's like really good, and he's going to the Olympics, and it's during the time when we were like, you know what? It was in Russia, and it was like we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna support the Olympics because of them right now. So Cold War times, and so he gets sent home, and like it was gonna be like his big thing. Because he's an incredible athlete and whatnot. So he kind of gets pulled into the fold of wrestling. Mm-hmm. One of his other brothers is also in the wrestling fold. And then the fourth brother of the current group that's alive doesn't really want anything to do with it. He's a musician and he's really good at it. But I'm gonna basically spoil the movie unless you want to watch it.
No, I mean, I'm curious what led you to watch this specifically, but
when I saw the trailers, I thought it looked interesting.
Okay.
And then I also saw the body transformation stuff that he went through, and I was like, that is incredible. Like, the amount of muscle that he put on for the movie is insane.
I did hear about this movie, totally forgot about it until you brought it up. I doubt I'll get around to it. So.
All right, and it doesn't really matter because what I'm spoiling is the true part of the story.
I mean, like it is a real story or whatever.
So now the three brothers are kind of more involved in the wrestling. One of them kind of gets promoted above the others, like the father. That's kind of what the father decides. That one is doing a lot of steroids and overstressing himself and overworking himself, and he goes on a tour, and he's in Japan. He's trying to get towards the heavyweight championship, and he dies. He dies alone in his hotel room from an exploded intestine.
Oh, fun!
And it's like, and it's just like the way they do it in a very intense way. Like it just happened, similar to like the story that it just happened one day and he wasn't there anymore. And it's like they talk about it, it's horrible and it's whatever. Meanwhile, Zac Efron's character thinks that he should have been the one there. And like there's that aspect. He also knew that his brother was kind of going a little too hard, but devastating. So then the next one to take the place is, and I might have these things kind of out of order, but Jeremy Allen White's character. So that brother comes in and he becomes the champion and he brings the belt home, which is a big thing for the dad who's fucking dick. And like, I just can't stand them because I can't stand these stories when like this horrible, like the patriarch of the family that's just kind of ruining everybody's life. But anyway, that's where we are. And the thing kind of gets to his head. He's kind of fried from the experience, and he's like, gets on his bike and he rides and helmetless and he's flying down the street, and they cut and they move on to the next thing. And the next time they show you him, he's one leg less.
Oh,
yeah. So he got into an accident that, not tastefully done, not shown on screen. They just cut and like, this is where we're at now. And he's not getting that back. And he goes through a whole journey with this. The other brother, they get kind of into the ring and start wrestling, even though he wants something to do with it. He's in a match. He gets hurt. He they break something, pull something in his shoulder. Mm-hmm. They bring him to the hospital to take care of it. He spikes a fever of 107 for too long.
Jeez. And
gets, is that sepsis?
Yeah.
Is that right?
What a terrible time for that weird bubble with the thumbs up to come up on the
I didn't even see it. So that happens, and then he goes in a coma.
Why are we laughing?
Because they can't see the laser light show. He goes into a coma, and when he wakes up, he's not the same anymore. Motor skills, neurological things. It's just not. He's not himself anymore. He can't do things the way he used to anymore. He can barely play the guitar anymore. He takes a whole load of pills and walks out into the forest.
Oh,
another brother down. Now we're left with two. We're left with Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, and he can't cope with the loss of his leg, and because it's really kind of everything coming like spiraling down together. It's like, he would have been this Olympic competitor. He had the belts, but he just can't do it anymore. He's not like, even with the prosthetic that he has, like he can't compete the way that he used to. So he's not going to do that anymore. He's dealing with the psychological aspects of feeling that he's deformed, and it's too much on him. And he tells his brother, and his brother is worried about him, and he tells his dad to look after him while he's on his way to go there. He goes to meet him. There's a whole Chekhov's gun situation. He kills himself. One brother left. We're left with one brother by the end of this story. The rest of them have died at this point. They do this incredible scene that I won't get into because it's worth seeing the movie just for the scene alone with the other brothers at the end. And then you find out like this, the only one that's left ends up like, he's still kicking today. He's got a big family. He's got a big ranch. All of his kids and their families and their grandkids all live on the ranch. And I was like, what? Like he got to that point, which is really cool. But he was just like, kind of had this devastating life. It was just when I tell you, like I should not have done this. Like I was absolutely depressed on the entire plane ride home. So I just,
on the plane
ride there. Sorry. This was the thing.
Planes are known for two things. One, you will regard a movie more highly. Two, you are more likely to cry on a plane. So
yeah. Yeah, so it's an 8. So it was an 8, a plane 8.
Okay.
So I'll need you to watch that and let me know how that holds up.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm going to watch David Holmes' The Boy Who Lived. You know anything about this?
And this is not a Harry Potter project.
It is a Harry Potter thing. It is Daniel Radcliffe's stunt doubles story.
Oh, actually, I have heard about that. I didn't know that they made a documentary about it.
Holy shit. When I tell you that this story is
he had a terrible, debilitating injury, right?
Yeah.
While being his stunt double?
Yep.
And
he's just this incredible human being with just more will than any other person could muster. I don't understand. It was moving. And I also would recommend watching that. Be prepared. Like it's devastating. Yeah. It's like a horrible story, but it's also, I don't know. It's one worth knowing.
The two of them are still very close.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
Also, like one of those scenarios where he was testing the stunt, tested it a couple times, and then one of the other doubles was like, hey, like you just kind of went through a lot, like doing all that. Like, why don't you let me step in for the next one? And he's like, no. He's like, this is mine. And then that's the time it happens.
Yeah.
So like that, the whole survivor's guilt type thing. Even the other guy's still alive, but like that, it's just when they interview that other stunt double, like you feel it. You just feel it, like the devastation. It's horrible. But just it's like a fascinating story.
Why did you do this to yourself?
No, unclear.
For 4 hours on a plane on the way to a work trip?
It's not clear.
It's not clear.
It's not. On the way back, I watched The Marvels.
Okay, you beat me to it. I was going to jump in with like Schindler's List.
Yeah. I watched The Marvels.
Okay.
Which was an Airplane 6.
Oof, okay.
Yeah. So I'm guessing somewhere in the realm of a 4.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not good.
Hang on a second. If you were on the ground, do you think it would be better or worse than the Eternals? We were just talking about it.
Ooh, better.
Okay.
Better than the Eternals.
Really? So it can't be a 4 then. We got to go back to the...
Yeah, I don't...
We got to go back to the...
At this point, though, I would rate Eternals a 1
Oh, okay. So we got to go back
really
to the records. I don't remember what you
Who knows what I gave it at that point, but I'm not happy about it. The Marvels... The Marvels is... So, and it's got a lot of really funny dialogue.
Okay.
Which it definitely helps it out a lot. A couple of like very silly jokes throughout. Samuel L. Jackson seems to just be kind of having a grand old time being goofy in it, which I actually really enjoyed.
I mean, he's earned that.
Yeah. It's just that the movie as a whole is really bad. Like the storyline, the villain, just don't care.
Oh.
Don't care. Don't care at all. Even a little bit.
What?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point, I don't even remember. Like, I think that they try to have that touching moment of like, I'm trying to do this thing, like trying to justify like the actions of the villain. It's like, yeah, no, it's just not. It's dumb. I don't like it. I hate it. I actually hate the storyline.
Jeez, this was a new villain. This was not someone who was.
This was a new villain
referenced in like some other movie or whatever.
Yeah, new villain. But like all in all, what sucks though is like between Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and I know they were messing around with trying to find a name for the third player, who's why can't I think of the character name? She was the one that got the cosmic powers in WandaVision because she walked through the barrier. Why can't I think of her name?
Oh, it's the Rambo.
Rambo, thank you.
I don't remember the first name because the mother and the daughter.
Monica.
That's the daughter. Who was the mother?
Oh no, the mother was Monica.
I'm asking. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
the mother Maria or something.
I don't know, but that character, the three of them are great, and they have good chemistry, and they have some fun banter. It's like it is not on any of their performances. It is fully the writing, and it is not good.
God awful script.
It's just real bad.
This was a tag team, right? Didn't they?
I don't even know. You know what? Let me pull it up.
I think it was I don't remember if I like knew either name, but it was a man and a woman wrote and directed it, didn't they?
Let me see. I'm gonna look it up right now. I didn't get that far because I checked out. Right, director Nia DaCosta, writers Nia DaCosta, Megan McDonnell, and Elisa Karasik.
I don't know. Maybe I was thinking of a different movie. I thought there was two people that they paired together to make that one.
It's so bad. There are some really goofy things though. Like there's some chuckles along the way, but it's like you're kind of like laughing. You're laughing at it, right? Like there's a whole scenario where they go to this planet where they can only communicate. They only understand what you're saying if you sing. Really silly concept, right? But it feels like a parody of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing. It feels like a joke. It feels like Scary Movie, the MCU.
I mean, it's not the worst idea if they did. Like, it could have been a Deadpool movie. Like, the whole movie was just, like, a parody of MCU movies.
Deadpool's a different vibe. It's like, Scary Movie's not good, but it's funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it was that vibe.
Okay.
It's just kind of like a cheap joke, cheap laughs.
I think there's something there if you did that with intention.
Yeah.
Like, if you did it with intention, which is why I was saying, like, Deadpool, you could do it with Deadpool. I don't know.
Sure.
Like, there's probably some other super deep pull from like the Marvel comics that I'm not familiar with that you could introduce and do it with, but like it's not the worst idea to do like an intentionally cheesy like parody movie, like a Monty Python or like Naked Gun style movie within the MCU. It's not a terrible idea.
No,
but you got to do it with intention.
Yeah, it's got to be. You have to commit. It's got to be the whole. It's got to be the whole movie.
Yes. And like it's got to end like maybe not with it like cutting before the end of the movie like Monty Python, but like it's got to end with like not horrible CGI. It's got to be horrible like practical effects.
Yeah.
Where like they're putting like a bad CGI from the 90s into it, and like where like you're seeing like pieces of like set fall off during a fight scene or something like that. Like, there is a way to do that movie. It would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I would watch that. That sounds fun. And honestly, if they wanted to do it with this cast of characters, I think they probably could have pulled it off because when it was funny, it was like, I mean, I was laughing, but I was.
But I'm guessing that was
crying.
Not the intent. Like, I'm guessing,
it wasn't.
Like we know the MCU jokey house style, but it sounds like it was like a pastiche of that. So
yeah, it was not. It was, and I went in excited. I was like, oh. I forgot. There's a whole Marvel movie I haven't watched. I'm on a plane.
This whole ass Marvel movie.
This feels like a good idea. And then I watched it. And I was disappointed.
For the record, episode 183. We know what, when in doubt, we can call the Eternals. Wow, that was a typo. We did Trogs When in Doubt, the Eternals. This was February of 2022.
Okay.
Eternals is like a course you need to take for your degree that's only offered once every 4 years. It's time sensitive and no one really seems to be interested in being there. It's the MCU's Justice League. 5 out of 10. That was your review.
Okay. All right. It's a 1 now.
Mine was, it's fine, ellipses. It wants to have fun sometimes. It wants to be really serious sometimes. It can't quite figure out how and when and why. Though. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, this suffers from that same thing. You could just copy paste that for the Marvels. Okay. I'm going to spoil the post credits of this movie because at this point it doesn't matter. Okay. But this is what I was talking about. At the end of this movie, Monica goes through a rift in space time. There's a hole that the villain made. It doesn't matter. She's on the other side of it. She closes it from the wrong side. It's the only way she could do it. She saves the universe by going through the hole and then closing the hole with her powers.
So like end of Avengers if Tony doesn't fall back through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Except it's not a portal, like it's not a wormhole. It's like a universe hole. Like,
but it's like same
yeah.
concept.
Just meaning like, I don't know, in the Tony example, he could there's theoretically a way back. In this example, you would have to kind of cut another hole in it's a multiverse situation. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she's somewhere else now. And where she is the Fox universe. Because she wakes up in a lab and you catch a brief glimpse of a blue person in a lab coat go by and talking and running diagnostics.
Dr. Hank McCoy.
It is in fact Beast. It is in fact Kelsey Grammer, and
then you heard da 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 da.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, it was so good. It was great. Like I loved that part of it.
That was a great theme song.
That made it worth the movie. Was just that part alone. I was like, they did the thing.
I was really hoping you were going to say like she woke up in a lab and like next to her is a guy who turns into like jellyfish and then water. From the scene from the first X-Men.
Why does he look like a cuttlefish? Yeah. Anyway, then watch that. And now I know what you're thinking. What are you going to do to yourself next? You've got time for one more movie.
Paint drying the movie.
It's time for redemption. I put on The Dark Knight. And I just.
Oh, this was your palate cleanser?
I just elevated everything that I experienced. It's like I was like, this is what movies should be. Movies can be good. Movies can be fantastic.
Movies can be good.
And then I was like, I just sat there in amazement, just watching Heath Ledger do his thing, thinking, my God, what a film. What a film. It's so good. I just can't. It is the best movie. I love it so much.
It is the most. It is the most movie.
It's the most movie. Oh my goodness! It's just got so many good things going for it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a pretty incredible movie. I was just telling someone the other day about the whole the fuck happened. There you are. That about us doing the 3 movies back to back to back. I just told someone about that the other day. They were riveted by the concept.
Yeah, that came up a lot on the trip because we were talking a lot about movies. Actually, you know what? This is great. I'm gonna pull up. Well, I'm gonna let you do. Last thing on my list is this morning I finished Jack Ryan season 3. Really having a good time with the show. Starting season 4 tomorrow. I'll be done in 8 days.
Okay.
That's generally.
Is that a threat or a promise?
That's a promise. Maybe 7 days. Depends. There's a chance I'm done by the next time we record. Mm-hmm. But it's 8 episodes a season. I watch one that morning, but sometimes I find the pocket to add a second one.
A secret pocket.
Only if Ian's awake, because me and Ian are watching it.
A secret Jack Ryan pocket.
Yeah, exactly. But while we were away, one of my coworkers admittedly has not seen a lot of movies, mm-hmm. and there's a lot of people on the team that enjoy movies. There is a member of our team who I'm happy to report has even more DVDs than I do.
Oh.
So we got a good crew. And she asked for a list of she wanted everyone to put 10 movies on the list that like they think are must watches so that you could see like which one she's seen, and also wanted us to like kind of rate them as like on a scale of like 1 to 5 of how disturbing they are. Like how emotionally prepared do I need to be to watch this movie? Like that type of thing, which is good. So I want you to do your consumption, and I'm going to try to surface this list.
Okay. Oh, you're going to try to find the whole list that was like accumulated amongst everyone?
Yep.
Okay. So I got a couple of things here. So on Sunday, I went to see The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which was the new Guy Ritchie movie that just came out. Fun, solid action flick. More or less what you expect from a Guy Ritchie World War II movie.
Sure.
I will say I was a little surprised. Alan Ritchson did his damnedest to steal the show.
Okay.
He plays a psychotic Danish like warrior, I guess we'll call him for lack of a better term, with a horrible, fantastic Danish accent.
Okay. Wonderful.
And this isn't too much of a spoiler to say that the opening scene, him and Henry Cavill are doing terrible Swedish accents together.
Beautiful.
And they get stopped on the ocean by a Nazi patrol, and the two of them are trying to play off like they're like these kooky Swedish fishermen who are just like on this, because they're on a sailboat. They're not like on like a modern boat. They're on an actual like old school wooden sailboat. And
an old wooden ship.
Yeah, they are on a diversity, and they're trying to act like they're drunk Swedish sailors, and it's just ridiculous. Rishin is ridiculous. He's doing Reacher, but World War II and Danish, and also with like a healthy dose of Legolas.
Because Reacher, but Danish,
but like a healthy amount of Legolas as well, because there are whole sequences of this movie where he's fighting with a bow and arrow at extremely long or extremely close quarters, and it's just absurd. And when he's not stealing the show, it's Eiza Gonzalez stealing the show with Babs Alusimakan. I'm actually not entirely sure how to pronounce his name. The guy who played Jameis in Dune. He's been in a couple of the Ritchie movies now.
Wait, the guy who played
Jameis, the guy that he fights to get into the tribe at the end of the first one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Him and Eiza Gonzalez are doing like the reconnaissance stuff in that movie, and Til Schweiger plays the Nazi in charge of the town that they're trying to kind of case. And she is awesome in this. He's really good. Til Schweiger is ridiculous and or terrifyingly menacing, depending on which scene or which part of the scene it is. It's a fun movie.
I kind of love that.
It's got a classic group of some of the Richie people from recently. Henry Golding's in there. Cary Elwes. Rory Kinnear plays Winston Churchill. He's the guy who... he's the one who's like M's assistant in like...
It would have been really funny if what you were about to do was describe to me who Winston Churchill was. He's the guy.
He was in charge of the UK during World War II. Drank a bottle of whiskey every day, cigars, boisterous, bombastic.
Yeah.
No, the guy who played M's like right-hand man in the recent Bond movies.
I feel like I probably know who it is.
Well, he had a much bigger role in the final one than he had in the previous ones. In all the other ones, he had like 3 lines, and then this one, he was like basically one of the crew.
Now I gotta look it up real quick.
He's also the only other actor other than what's her name in the movie Men by Alex Garland. It's literally just the 2 of them in the entire movie.
What was his name?
Rory Kinnear.
Rory, not on the top list. There you are.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, this guy. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
He did a good Churchill. I wouldn't, and like they put like fat suit prosthetic and all that stuff on him too.
Sure.
But yeah, just like good, solid, fun flick. Definitely worth a watch. Cool theater. I mean, it's a fucking war movie or whatever. Like it was good to see in the theater. So that was fun. I had fun with it. Me and my dad and Dominic went to go see the movie together, and we had a good time. There was there was 4 people in the theater, including the 3 that I just mentioned. At the end of the movie, someone says "Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare," and I said, they said it out loud in the theater.
Nice.
I mean, there's only one person who was going to care. It was literally the final 90 seconds of the movie.
Amazing.
So, so it was fun. It was a good little Sunday afternoon movie.
Nice. Yeah. I am happy to report that I am taking off work on my birthday and fully intend to go to the movies.
Oh, nice. Any plans yet? Specifically, what you?
No, I don't even know what's out. I do know The Mummy is being re-released.
Okay. That one too, because we were just talking about that briefly yesterday, right? The re-release parade of this year, which I guess makes sense because
the re-release parade,
pandemic and strike have really limited what's coming out this year, obviously. So, I know my cousin Mike. Hey, Mike. Just told me he saw. Actually, we were texting me before. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. He just saw Ungentlemanly Warfare. He saw Challengers, and then there's some. I don't know if what was the other thing that either just came out or about to come out. He was telling me that he wanted to see. The Fall Guy. That's what he was saying.
Oh,
he said he wants to see the Fall Guy. I would like to see that.
I want to see that.
And I know he's already seen Civil War. I'm thinking about maybe going this weekend if I have some time Sunday, maybe.
Cool. Nice. Any other consumption?
Yeah, what else did I have? Oh, I watched was about a week and a half ago, the first episode of... I finally got around to watching the first episode of The Gentleman Show.
Oh, okay.
Very Guy Ritchie heavy consumption. It was good. It was interesting. I was not sure early on what exactly it was about, and I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say this, considering you've seen the movie. It seems like it's going to be following a family of people who were like, the whole thing that his like plot in the movie was all of his like distribution centers and like production places were on the estates of nobles who were like cash poor. This is one of those families.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the main...
That's the gist that I got. I'm not sure if I saw the whole first episode or if I fell asleep. But
I didn't know you started watching it. So
that's kind of what I assumed. But
did you notice who was in the first episode?
I did notice Mr. Lovesick. I don't know.
No, not one, two of them.
Ooh,
the brother was one of them.
Yeah,
but the guy that he goes to the fight with, that was Angus.
The guy he goes. Maybe how late into the episode is that?
Maybe midway.
Oh, maybe I did. I might have fallen asleep early.
He's in 2 scenes.
I feel like I would have recognized Angus.
Yeah, well, because I didn't recognize. I forget the other two's names. I didn't recognize the one who was the brother. I was like, I know that guy, but I didn't recognize him at first.
Mm-hmm.
And Gianna was in the room. She was like only half watching. She's like, "That's what's the name from Lovesick." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. That is him." Yeah. I was like, I didn't realize that was him at first. And then we're watching on, and then they get to the scene where Angus is in it, and I was like, "That's Angus." And she's like, "No fucking way."
That's awesome.
I'm gonna be I was a little disappointed that at the end of the first episode, the third guy wasn't in it as well. It'd be fun. I have no idea if he's in the show later. I'm guessing probably not, but I thought it was really funny that both of them were in the first episode.
Don't look the snake in the face.
It's got a pretty good cast. There's the first episode also features Peter Serafinowicz. I think there was a handful of other people who seemed vaguely familiar, but yeah, I liked the first episode. It was cool. I'm definitely looking forward to watching it. That was me and my brother and my dad were watching it like 2 Sundays ago, so we'll probably keep watching that together. Me and my dad had been watching Shogun. We've fallen way off the pace. I think that season ended, and I've not had a chance. I've only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes.
I haven't watched any, but I am interested.
Really good. That's just I've been watching.
I've heard nothing but good things. So,
and also a thing that I'm not quite consuming yet is just because I got home too late today. The series finale of The Bad Batch came out today. I did not get a chance to watch it yet. So
cool.
Report back on that next week.
I'm glad you'll get to enjoy that soon.
Yeah, but those are the only major... I think that was the only major consumptions that I had.
All right. So I pulled this list up. It's long, so we're going to try to go through it quickly. Mm-hmm. And you could basically just give it an agree or disagree, and I will stop along the way if there's anything of note. So the columns on this table are movies/franchises, warning rating, 1 mildly upsetting, 5 super duper upsetting. Okay. There's a column called I second this, where if somebody put the movie down, you could just say, yes, me too. Okay. And then there's a column of whether or not you watch it. There's a lot of movies here, and Jeez has only seen a few of them.
Oh.
So we're going to go
This is
through
the
the
person who's owned as many DVDs as you.
No. That person contributed to the list, though.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how does this person who have more DVDs than you not see most of the movies on this list? That's...
Just collects them. Never watched them.
Oh, can you imagine? It's like one of those like one of those people who collects toys but leaves them in the packaging.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to start at the top here. We've got Die Hard. It says 1 through 3 are good. 4 is okay. Don't watch the last one.
I very much enjoy 1 and 3. I've half watched 2 once, and I like 4, but it's not good.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on that. I don't remember 5 at all.
I also chose not to watch 5.
Yeah. Second on the list, and we can stop talking here, is Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, it's 11 out of 10.
I second this. This is great. Pulp Fiction, Green Mile,
great.
Shawshank,
great.
Stand By Me.
If I saw the whole thing, it was once when I was 12.
Same. I'm fairly certain I have. It's been a long time. Back to the Future.
I don't love them the way everyone else does it. I think it's fine.
I love the first Back to the Future.
I've definitely seen the first one a couple times. I've seen parts of the second one.
Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Goonies.
Yeah.
Sandlot.
I watched it a bunch when I was 5 or 6 years old.
Right. Same.
I've retained almost nothing of it other than them puking on the ride.
Sure.
And them playing pickup baseball with the Babe Ruth signed baseball. That's all I remember.
Mm-hmm. Patch Adams.
Never saw that one.
Rush Hour 1, 2, maybe 3. I would say all of them. They're all fun. Just the Rush Hour suit.
The third one's I like the first
two. It's fine. The first 2 are great. I'm gonna put a dead animal on you.
That is one of the things that my family quotes the most. It's not actually that line, but it's him doing the whole buttercream, crockskin,
buttercream. What size is the waist? Let's go in. So we've got The Prestige.
Fantastic.
There was on the how upsetting is this? Somebody put a 1, and I think I bumped that up to a 2.
Oh, it's at least a 2, depending on what your tolerance is for certain things.
Yeah. Sleepless in Seattle. What We Do in the Shadows made it to this list.
Oh, nice.
The Beach.
That's an interesting movie. Potentially upsetting.
No. American Pie 1 and 2.
Fantastic.
Road Trip. Great choice.
I've only actually seen that once.
Euro Trip. Better choice.
Never seen that one.
Euro Trip. Oh, we should. I mean, I think it goes back to one of the ones we should watch together.
We've talked about it a few times. You have.
I adore that movie. I adore Matt Damon in that movie. It's the most bizarre cameo.
Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah. Beer Fest.
Great.
Super Troopers.
Great.
Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore are on here. I don't think that they are must-watch movies. I don't think that they would hold up for a first viewing now.
Yeah, if you're past the age of early 20s and you haven't seen it, maybe it doesn't hold up. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, and to be clear, I'm going to go through the.
Although I don't know, Madison, if you like to smoke and watch a movie, it's probably fun to watch.
Maybe. I don't know. Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and The Waterboy are on there. And those three I would leave off the list. But the next two are The Wedding Singer and Big Daddy. I would actually keep those. I think they hold up.
Yeah. More so, I guess. No. They're more actual movies, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Training Day.
I've still never actually sat down and
watched nice.
That.
Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, that is one that's always been on my list for a long time. I just haven't got around to it.
Shutter Island.
I didn't love that as much as I would have liked to.
Yeah, I think it was fine. I Love You, Man. We love yes. I Love You, Man. Bubble Boy. I
never watched it.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Absolutely. Knocked Up. This Is 40. Mm-hmm. Waiting.
Yep.
Tropic Thunder.
Fantastic.
Austin Powers.
Good.
I think that's another one. Would it hold up? I don't know.
I think it still probably would hold up for people of our generation because of that reference point. But
that's fair.
If you had someone who was 15 watching it now, I don't know if it would work for them.
That's fair. The Big Lebowski.
I don't adore that the way that many people do. But
yeah,
it's a good movie.
It's fine. It's not up there for me. The Nutty Professor.
The
Blob.
Ugh.
Con Air.
Classic.
Con Air, agree. Last Action Hero. Agree.
Still would like to get back and actually watch that movie, but yeah, I liked it. I've saw it a couple times when I was younger, and I haven't seen it ever since.
Face Off. The Rock.
I want to take his
The Accountant. Yeah. Face Off, The Rock, The Accountant. All I agree with.
I've seen The Rock a million times, and I love it.
So good. Prometheus is fine.
Yeah.
Along Came Polly, I don't remember. I remember enjoying it, but
I actually
remember the movie at all.
Just rewatched almost the entire thing. It's a really short movie.
Is it?
Yeah, I turned it on 5 or 10 minutes into the movie, maybe a month or so ago, and yeah, no, I mean, I like the movie. It is peak Stiller cringe, but it works, even though the two of them have somehow both excellent chemistry and also awful chemistry at the same time. It's definitely worth a watch, especially for how short it is. It's got some super memorable things. Hank Azaria playing
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
No,
Lois. It was Philip Seymour Hoffman
playing classic Philip Seymour Hoffman. Hank Azaria playing Cloud, the scuba instructor.
Amazing,
unforgettable.
When Harry Met Sally.
I've never actually seen the whole thing.
I haven't seen it at all. It's on my list, but The Hunter. I don't know what that is.
The Hunter, just The Hunter.
The Hunter. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up while you continue.
Boondock Saints, only number 1. It says.
I've only seen the second one time.
Yeah. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I've seen that once or twice.
Rambo. Pretty in Pink. I'm actually going to adjust this right now and add one right below it and say that the Breakfast Club should actually be on here.
So The Hunter is Willem Dafoe, Francis O'Connor, and Sam Neill. Martin, a mercenary, is sent from Europe by a mysterious biotech company to the Tasmanian wilderness on a hunt for the last Tasmanian tiger.
What?
This is a super B movie, it looks like.
Amazing. That's awesome. All right. Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club, Mystery Alaska.
My only point of reference for Mystery Alaska is it Mission Impossible 2? There was some old, when I say old, meaning when we were young, we had either, I don't know if it was a VHS or DVD. There's one movie I watched a million times, and there was a trailer for Mr. Alaska.
Yes. It's probably the first one because I remember what you're talking about.
No, it's not the first one because I never owned the first one. I definitely owned Mission Impossible.
Okay, well, it was definitely not something I owned too because I
saw that trailer a million times. That's my only point of reference.
What are the odds of that? That is amazing.
Well, pretty good because we both love that movie.
I take it back. Office Space,
classic.
Stardust.
I never saw that. That's one of those weird fantasy mid-2000s movies.
I don't know. Secondhand Lions, Enchanted.
I've actually seen Secondhand Lions a few times. My mom likes that movie. It's an interesting, fun watch.
Remember the Titans.
Classic.
Great movie. Inside Man.
Love it.
Lucky Number 11.
One of my favorites.
Serenity, but you should watch the show Firefly first. Yes. One season. Best show ever.
Watched the first episode or two of Firefly, and I still have not gotten around to finishing it, but I would like to eventually.
$1 Million Baby.
I have seen the end of that movie.
V for Vendetta.
Classic.
Good Will Hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Scent of a Woman.
I've never seen that one. Is that the first Pacino going full Pacino movie?
I think so. Gran Torino.
Good movie. I've seen that a few times.
G.I. Jane.
Never saw that one.
The Lego Movie.
I surprisingly liked that. I went into that against my will, and I ended up enjoying it.
Kubo, the Lego Movie is great. Kubo and the Two Strings.
Animated movie?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. First Night.
First Night with a K?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar too, and I don't know what it is. I'm gonna look up too.
Sean Connery, Richard Gere.
Okay.
Oh, this is a Arthurian movie.
Yeah. I think I've seen it a long time ago. Far and Away, The Terminal. Gone in 60 Seconds, can confirm.
What Great is movie. Far and Away? Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. A young Irish couple flee to the States, but subsequently struggle to obtain land and prosper freely. Really?
So The Terminal, Gone in 60 Seconds, Star Trek Into Darkness, Memento, Snatch,
okay,
Fifth Element, obviously, Galaxy Quest, obviously.
I just watched all of the Fifth Element.
Wonderful.
Too.
Sounds like you had a great time. A Few Good Men, The Firm, The Rainmaker. All of these happened for me in the past. That's really funny.
Yeah, all Grisham movies.
Yeah. True Grit, the new one. Silence of the Lambs, Pacific Rim, Zombieland, The Craft, Sleepy Hollow, What About Bob, Forrest Gump, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Grand Budapest Hotel. Yes. Get on the list.
And yes to 80% of the list that you just read.
Gladiator, Gattaca.
Never saw it.
Gattaca. Whiplash. Kill Bill.
I love that
movie. Kill Bill first. I say just watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like we did. The Usual Suspects. Amelie.
Yeah, I never saw that one.
Pride and Prejudice. Paddington. Parent Trap. I don't know which Parent Trap they want, but if you're talking the Lindsay Lohan vehicle, then I would agree.
Also, which Pride and Prejudice, because there's multiple versions of that one as well.
That's The Mummy, 100%.
Yeah.
Eurovision, the story of Fire Saga.
I surprisingly liked that one.
Yeah, that's an annoyingly good movie. It's very funny.
When I first saw the trailer for that, I was like, a Netflix movie about a singing competition starring Will Ferrell. I was like, I don't think so.
Because this can't be good.
And then 6 months later, this was deep pandemic. It was like, okay, I guess we're watching this. And I surprisingly enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. Carly insisted that I watched it, and I was like, yep, it tracks. Very good. Bullet Train, excellent.
Yep.
Mulan, animated, live action is bad. That's what it says. Toy Story, WALL-E, Up, My Neighbor Totoro, Team America World Police, Old School, super bad.
I was watching part of Old School the other night. It's been a while since I watched that.
The Departed.
Super bad, fantastic. Departed, fantastic, obviously.
The Thing, The Matrix.
Yep.
Predator, Prey.
I liked Prey.
Schindler's List.
2 Schindler's List references today.
American History X.
I never actually saw all of that.
I do think that it's worth a watch. It's a good watch. It's a very heavy one. On the upset-o-meter, somebody put 4, and I said it's a 6, no question.
Yeah, 4?
Yeah.
How is that not the max of whatever scale you're using?
Right. Terminator 2, it says watch Terminator 1 first if you have the time. I always like to share that I actually saw Terminator 2 first, and it's fine to see it that way.
I don't remember which one I saw first. Whatever.
Jurassic Park. Second one is good too, but can stop there. That's what it says in the subtext. Muppet Christmas Carol. Jingle All the Way. Rudy. Seabiscuit. Goodfellas. Man. 7. Yes. Clerks. Yes. Interstellar. Yes. Ocean's Souls. Life is Beautiful. I put that one on there. Have you ever seen that movie?
I don't think so. I don't remember which one that
Roberto Benigni won 2 Oscars for that movie under different things. I only remember... You'll probably remember the picture of him holding them to each of his ears.
Okay.
It's a pretty funny picture. Call Me By Your Name. Glengarry Glen Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Secret in Her Eyes.
Don't know that one.
It says Argentinian version. I assume this recommendation came from one of our Argentinian developers.
That would seem to be a safe assumption.
So I'm gonna have to check that one out because we got to talking to Ariel a lot about movies, and he seems to have very good taste in movies. So I would like to see some of the ones from home there. The Menu.
Oh, classic.
Wild Tales, Airplane, Lethal Weapon, Hot Shots, Pan's Labyrinth, Past Lives, Scott Pilgrim, Ocean's 11, Moonrise Kingdom, Man on Fire, Knives Out, Being John Malkovich, I Heart Huckabees, Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. I feel like I don't think that movie's very good. I remember thinking it was very good, then we did it and thinking it was meh.
Yeah, I remember you were excited to do it, we did it, and I watched it and I was like, a lot of people talk about this movie a lot, and I don't know why.
Yeah. The Life Aquatic, Stranger Than Fiction, Usual Suspects, Alien, which I don't care for.
I'm pretty sure Usual Suspects is on this list twice.
Yeah, I think it is. Room with a View, and Howard Zinn. It's a good list. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I think it needs to be trimmed down significantly.
Surprisingly varied list. Well, it's got to be trimmed by 1 for sure.
Amazing. I just think we should make a subsequent list of things to actively avoid, like The Phantom Thread.
Roma.
Something of the Dog. What was it?
The Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog.
The Eternals.
The Eternals. Just these are avoid like the plague. Avoid like a plague-ridden whip.
I was going to say avoid like a plague of anthrax.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's the list. It's a good list. I think there's some gems in there.
Both an excellent list, and yet still somehow feels like wanting.
Feels empty.
Well, not empty, but like it's like, oh man, there was so many great movies on there, and so many great movies that aren't on there.
yeah, exactly. I started putting some on there, and I was like, I kind of like lost track of like what I put on and what other people put on, and I was like, I just stopped. Originally my take was going to be, I don't know how to pick movies for this list, so I'm going to try to pick directors and then pick one movie from those directors' catalogs.
Well, I think you start with your favorite 10 movies, or the best approximation of that you can do, and then try and look at the list. Okay, X, Y, and Z's on there. Delete those and let me add like my next ones in to like give more variety to the list. Like it's not going to be perfect. So there's a little bit of a process, but if you had enough people, like you have your own version of a top 100, not to say that it's the top 100, but just against a good smattering across a bunch of different people like that. Like there was certainly a lot of overlap in there, but there was a good amount of variety in that list.
Yeah. Because for me, like if I were to do a top 10 list now, I feel like something that might end up on the list would be Endgame, but it
was pretty light on superhero movies, that list.
It's not just Endgame though. It's the experience that leads to it and then the movie. So
you can't just watch Endgame. Not to say that you need to see every MCU movie that led to it, but you have to see probably half of them.
Yeah. The trimmed fat version of the Infinity Saga. I think I could come up with that list.
Someone with way too much time and way too much cocaine or something needs to do like a supercut of like the essential of like the first 20 movies of the saga and just make like a movie of all of like the important scenes like chronologically.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, man.
It would probably be like 5 hours long, but it probably would end up working, kind of.
Yeah, it could. Cool. Anything else for consumption?
No, it's been
a ride.
Yeah, I mean, because we'll have this like sign off to consumption. So 2 weekends ago, I had a cousin's wedding on Friday. I took off Friday because it was like wedding at 4 in the middle of fucking nowhere, New Jersey, like near where like New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania like come to a point.
All the way up in Maine near Russia.
Wrong direction, but yeah. Beautiful event, awesome place, great time. Seriously, but it was just like it was middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and it was like one of those like you don't go to bed till fucking 2:00, like sure. Like it's like late night. Great time, don't regret it. While I was there between the ceremony and the reception, because there was like a 2-hour gap. Not quite, ended up being 2 hours by the time like everyone like watched them leave. Everyone said hi to each other, watch them leave, drive to the venue, all that stuff. So in that time, me and my cousin Dan went to. He's like, randomly, I've been through this town once, like driving to visit colleges with his son George. He's like, there's a really good liquor store over here. It's like, okay, if you say so. He's like, yeah. He goes, I don't get a lot of New Jersey beer, so when I like have an opportunity to like stop, because he lives in Connecticut. He's like, when I have time to stop in New Jersey and like trying to track down some good New Jersey beers, I do, because it's really few and far between for me. We've actually done a couple of beers over the years that he's given me.
Okay.
Because he will, whenever he like gets like a big batch of beers, he'll give me some. I'll try and trade him some once in a while, but he's definitely given me more than I've given him. So we go to this place. He's like, oh, like this one's really good. I've had it. Like, this is really good. This one I've been looking for. I've never had it yet, so I'm going to get that one, whatever. We bought a bunch of beer because we were like, we don't know if we're going to get into this venue. We're basically going to tailgate this reception.
Amazing.
So I bought a bunch of beers, which I have for you for the show, part of this next batch, whatever. Awesome time, whatever. Yeah, I guess don't get home till like 2:00. Next night, one of Dominic's friends has been overseas for a year, deployed for the army. Was getting home. His girlfriend organized a surprise party for him at a brewery in Connecticut, which parenthetically, my cousin Dan is like, oh, I've been there. Cool place. Great. So we go there. It's like, yeah, me and Dominic are driving. Dominic has a tough time in the morning, especially after drinking. Like his stomach, he's got a ton of stomach issues. So he's like, yeah, like I'll drive. Like I'm probably not going to get too crazy tonight because like I just don't feel like great. I was like, got it. That's cool. Whatever. So me and him carpool out there. It's like, yeah, 11, 12 o'clock. No big deal. I didn't get home till 3 o'clock. But I bought a bunch of beer from this brewery. Really cool place. Like, they were super cool there. It was like this older couple own it, run it, make the beer, make whatever. Like, it was just like a really like cool atmosphere. Bought a bunch of their beers. Really enjoyed it. Have that for the show as well. Nice. So that was my only other so like I had a whole weekend blown up with fucking 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning type of nights. Like I didn't watch anything that weekend at all. Like,
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of like sports stuff between like playoff hockey and basketball, baseball's up, whatever. It's like I just have not had this feels like there's everything been going on the last couple of weeks, and then like also nothing at all somehow. It's one of those like situations where like I was like sitting there doing like the news today, and I was like, I have no news, which doesn't make sense because it's been 2 weeks since we record. Usually there's way too much.
Something's happened.
I barely even have consumption. I didn't watch anything last week, and then I feel like I watched a ton of stuff this week, but like it was only a couple things, so. That's it for consumption for me. It was good.
All right.
It's been a good couple of weeks.
Nice. On that, cue the sun. The Truman Show, released in 1998, rated PG, with a 1 hour and 43-minute runtime. An insurance salesman discovers his whole life is actually a reality TV show. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. That's the hot take right there. Al, why don't you give us your Toot-length review?
Exceedingly odd, oddly prescient, and perfectly Jim Carrey. Whether you want to laugh, cry, or crawl out of your skin, no one can tell you you're wrong. 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, nice. The Truman Show How charming, devastating, and utterly fucked. 7 out of 10. I was doing a lot of thinking after I watched this movie. Rewatched this movie because I've seen it. I've seen it a few times. I definitely saw it when it came out. I'm fairly certain I saw it in theaters.
Really?
And yeah, so I was a big Jim Carrey fan from a young age. As soon as I was introduced to Ace Ventura, I was introduced to like TBS Ace Ventura, so like it was a little bit more mild.
I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty sure the first Jim Carrey, like chronologically of my life, that I ever saw was The Mask.
Okay.
Which, in retrospect, I don't think a 5-year-old should be watching that.
No, definitely not. But we made it. Anyway, so like I loved Jim Carrey from an early age, and I loved the movies that I had, the silly, goofy ass movies that he was in, whether or not they were appropriate for me to watch. Regardless, like I loved it. And I just really enjoyed funny movies at the time. And for me,
at the time, because now you watch incredibly depressing movies on a plane.
Apparently. But for at the time, though, for me, it was like it didn't even register to me like what the movie was or what it was about. I just saw that Jim Carrey was in it, and I wanted to see it. And my parents always took me to movies. It was great, so they took me to see that. And I realized, in looking back on it, I'm fairly certain that this movie and Man on the Moon got me like into films.
Okay.
Like, because I was watching...
I've still never seen Man on the Moon either. This is the first time I'd seen this movie.
There's like the pure entertainment aspect of it. Obviously, loving to laugh at the jokes and the sillies, and Jim Carrey bringing that in spades as a young age. That makes sense. And then like watching this movie and laughing a lot, but then also like feeling something. And like, I knew that it wasn't a typical Jim Carrey movie when I saw it the first time, but I didn't know what it was. But I knew that I was intrigued by it. Like I remember being like...
It both feels like the most Jim Carrey movie and also nothing like his other movies.
And I remember that being like really interesting. And like I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it's like over the years it's popped back into my head. But I remember like at the time, like I kind of like transported back when I rewatched it the other day. And I was like, wow, I have this memory of like really thinking about the ending of that movie and the complexity of it, and like just being probably too young to be like even conceptualizing what was going on. And then like following that up with Man on the Moon, it was a similar thing where it was like Jim Carrey's in it, I want to see it, but like even more so dark and interesting and a biopic and like straight. And then like I think like his ability to be so funny and take me in, all of these like funny things that he did, and like me being like just loving his performance, and then like, hey, here's something serious, and it's like I think it took me by surprise. And I think that like that's kind of one of the earlier movies I remember of it being like it wasn't just an action movie, it wasn't just a comedy, it wasn't just an animated movie that I was watching. There was just something to it, and at the time definitely didn't know what that was, but now that I've rewatched them over the years, it's like, yeah, they're deep. And I think I think it may have like kind of sparked like that love of movies.
That makes sense. There's
or
no
that
way
the love of depth of movies, I should say.
There's no way my parents would have taken me to see this movie.
Excuse me.
It was interesting. At a certain point while watching this movie, I was like, I had the thought. I was like, what is this movie rated? Because like it could have gone any way, and I realized it was like there's basically like no cursing or anything like that. And there's nothing like graphic in it, but it's also definitely not a kids movie.
Yep.
Despite the fact that it's rated PG, like it's
a 90s PG.
Yeah, but like it kind of feels very anachronistic, right? Where like they don't make movies like that anymore. No. And this is not like any sort of criticism or like a back in my day. It's like just literally they stopped making movies in this form. Like you could make the exact same movie and they would have just thrown in a fuck or two, and like it would have been PG-13. You know what I mean? Yeah. It would have like 100%. It would have not been PG with like the exact same script. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is not like a criticism; it's just like an observation. I felt like out of time while watching the movie because it was like they don't really do this in this way anymore, because it's a very adult movie dealing with very adult themes, but just like not gratuitously like graphic and violence or sexuality or language, any of that stuff, which was, I just found it to be an interesting experience in that regard.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of bizarre. Like, yeah, like the general audience movie doesn't really exist. Like
it's just kids, like, right? Like it's just kids movies, like the GA or PG, like those movies, like they're animated movies for kids, and like basically all of them are PG at this point. And G, sure it technically exists on the book. Like, I'm sure there's probably still some kids movies that are just G, but like it's not a very common. Like even most of the kids movies now, I feel like are PG. But yeah, like an adult movie made for adults that is PG, like that, it's pretty rare. Like I'm sure there's an odd movie here and there that's done it, but it's just like not like a big movie with like big stars in it. You know what I mean? But sorry, back to like just to finish that point. Like you said, it had Jim Carrey in it. I wanted to see it. My parents took me. If I said I was super into Jim Carrey, and I guess I was. Like I said, I'd seen The Mask. I don't think it was of my volition. I think my parents watched it, and I was watching it with them or whatever. And I definitely, by the time this movie came out, I definitely would have seen Ace Ventura at that point, and I definitely would have seen Liar Liar and Batman Forever. So like I liked Jim Carrey, definitely not as much as you, but like I liked Jim Carrey at that time. But if I said, "Hey mom, there's a PG movie with Jim Carrey in it. I want to go see it in the theaters," like if she had seen the trailer or read, she would have like, we're not going to see. You don't want to see this. Like if you want to go to the movies, we'll go to the movies. But like, well, let's pick something else. Like that's how like that conversation would have went.
Sure. Yeah, I remember getting the Sunday paper and like scouring through section E for like I wanted to see all the movies star ratings and any of the reviews that I could read. I just remember it just being such a fun thing to look forward to. I loved picking out a movie from the list and then checking the times and then just going to the theater. It was just like such a great time.
I mean, honestly, in 1998, we might have gone to see Armageddon that year.
Nice.
Like we would have gotten to see that, like, but we wouldn't have gotten to see this.
But my goodness, like but seriously though, like what a bizarre, it's a bizarre concept, right? It's ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like, especially with like you know the advent of like actual reality television and how crazy it has gotten over the years. Like,
yes, although you know what I kind of found in it, that's true, but I actually felt like there might have been a closer analog to social media in some ways. This idea of always on broadcasting the mundanity of like everyday life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because like reality shows are so scripted. Like there were scripted events in this, but like they're all playing to the camera versus like in this, like the innocence, which was what they said was so compelling in the movie. They said this is what's so compelling is it's the innocence of his character not knowing, and like what they were showing, like it's him going to work and doing a fucking insurance job.
Yeah, it's
like like we had events like the season finale. My dad died drowning in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, but like most episodes would have just been, hey, I guess we're having pork chops for dinner, honey. You know, I mean, like, and yet people were riveted to it for 30 years. But I actually felt like there was a better analog to social media, right? Where the idea of, hey, this is me making a video of how I cook dinner, and if you like this recipe, like and subscribe. You know what I mean? Like,
who are you talking to?
Yeah, right. Like hell, you can even make to an extent like us doing the show. Like, who are we talking to? Like, people listen to the show, but like we're not some massive like Spotify platform show. Like, like who's listening to this? Who's watching your stupid video about like how to cook this or how to build this chair or whatever, or even like crazier shit than that. Like, you know, hey, I'm going out. Yeah, people like GoProing when they like fucking go surfing or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like I actually felt like it was closer to some of that than to actual reality television, because what reality television has become in that time is nothing like what this was. There is zero authenticity in those things versus this.
The reality television, it's like reality in quotes, because it is just everybody knows.
Yeah,
Oh no!
It's like
part of it.
It's like WWE almost.
Yeah.
Versus this, where like they're trying to balance the scripted versus the authentic, right? Which made for a much more.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the compelling is trying to figure out what is real and what's not.
But I also like to, if you think about it at the time, though, like the idea and like the way that it was described, especially by Christoph of like, which I mean, what a character!
The eponymous Christoph.
Yeah.
The mononymous Christoph.
But like just like people find comfort in him. They leave him on when they go to sleep, and it's like the idea. Like that's the part of it that is charming. It is this escapism. It's just like watching somebody else, just watching somebody else's life, escaping from your own. Like the concept was interesting, and then every time they do something like that, where like it almost sounds charming, you think about it. You just think about it for a second longer, and you're like, how screwed up is this whole scenario? Like that's what I couldn't get over this time through. Is like
deeply illegal.
It's just so. It's a horror movie,
especially once they go into the point of like some of the logistics, where it's like this is the first person who's been adopted by a corporation.
Yeah,
right?
It's things like that made me go. Oh.
And like we think about these reality shows, or even just more like celebrities at large, right? The idea, you hear conversations crop up every once in a while about invasion of privacy and all that, and like. There is a conversation to be had about all of that. But on the other hand, right, when you choose to live a life of celebrity, you do sign away certain bits of your privacy, at least vis-a-vis when you're in a public space, right?
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, like, I certainly draw the lines. Paparazzi camping outside your house, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, just fuck all the way off. But if you're sitting at a restaurant...
Why don't you get fucked?
If you're sitting at a restaurant and someone sees you and snaps a picture of you, you're fair game. Like, you're a celebrity, you're in public. Like, they shouldn't come and disrupt your dinner. But if someone is taking a picture of you, like, there's no escaping that. Like, you signed up for that when you chose to be famous, insofar as anyone, quote unquote, chooses to be famous, right? Like, but it's entirely different than someone having their every move broadcast 24/7. And even if you consented to do that, there's an element of that's crazy. But when you didn't sign up for it in any way, shape, or form, and then you get into like the further, because my assumption, knowing very little about the movie, other than knowing that like there's a television show around him and he like doesn't know, like that's basically all I knew.
Okay.
My assumption was always that either it was like some company decided to like secretly set something up around him and he like figures it out over the course of it, like as an adult, or that maybe it was like a situation where like he had amnesia and they're like, oh, like we could just do this because he's not gonna know or whatever. The idea that they do it from birth and that it was like planned.
Yeah.
There's almost a level of, well, he doesn't know any better, where it's like, maybe this isn't like totally insane. And then as soon as you actually finish that thought, you're like, no, it's still totally insane. But like, there is like a moment where I could almost see someone convincing themselves that this is okay because like what Christoph says at the end, no, like I was trying to do this for you. I was trying to give you a perfect life. But it's like the best of intentions doesn't matter. It's still insane.
They say that every little thing, every big thing, all of it, it's just so dismissive of his humanity. Like, especially like it all the way down to the line. Animal. But even when they were like, oh, we had a whole bunch of I think they said something like unwanted mothers with unwanted children or something like that.
Yeah, with like
unwanted pregnancies.
Five pregnancies that were going to go up for adoption.
And yours lined up with the air date.
With the air date, yeah, it was literally just he was born on the date the show was going to go to air.
Oh my god,
because he was 2 weeks premature.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so dark. It's so dark. But what I thought was interesting too is like from the beginning. I like that they they don't do too much time ramping up to the concept of him being on the show. They the first thing they do is show the cracks, which I think is interesting. And like the start, it's like, because they backfill it all, right? So like this has been his whole life. So it's been years. It's been on for years. People have grown up with him, whatever. But like we skipped all that. And we jumped right into one of the set lights fell. And I think that is like a really funny way to start the movie. It's just like him being like, what is this? And then you start to see they very naturally did the world building where like that happened. And then like, if you're not paying attention, you don't see it happening, but like you overhear on the radio about space debris that was shed and fell, and they're just like chalking. They're planting explanations for things that don't make sense in him, like through other people, or the newspaper is like primarily the one that they use.
Yeah,
and like I just think that the whole concept is it is so slimy and it's so uncomfortable, and every time you pick up on one of the things that they're doing, it just makes me like, it just gives me the willies. And like the two, I don't know, the twins, but not twins that are like trying to get an insurance policy, but really all they do is they push him against a billboard every morning for a for like an ad placement.
Oh, is that what that was about?
Okay, yeah, the ad that he gets pushed up against is different each time.
I don't think I noticed because like some of the scenes you can only half see the ad.
Yeah, just like it was so weird. And then like all of that stuff though, like because all of that stuff is grimy, but like then build that into this already horrendous thing that they're doing to this person, like the beer ads, the horrible beer ads that Marlon does like throughout the movie. He's always doing a beer ad, which is really funny.
Oh, did I miss that? I mean, I know he's always carrying a beer and it's like a different beer, but like I don't think I noticed him doing it.
He does one where he turns and he drinks it sideways.
Oh, okay. But he doesn't say anything, right? But like, oh, yeah. Okay. Because the big one obviously is when he's having the breakdown and she does it's like literally she's reading an ad and it's like,
yeah, I'm not like
on the slopes of whatever.
the knife, the three.
Yeah,
the ad for the knife.
What are you gonna do? You gonna cut me? You gonna grate me? Or you gonna peel me?
Peel me?
That one was definitely an ad too.
Man.
I love the idea even of like goes beyond that to like they were selling the wardrobes as like different like fall clothing line or whatever.
Yeah. So the Truman catalog.
Yes.
Yeah. I love like it gets like they really like they like ratchet up the intrigue and the mystery though, like especially with like with the Lauren character of like she's like feels bad for him and like is like really torn apart by this concept and like the thing that she's a part of and like ultimately tries to explain it to him, although that scene, she has a lot of time in that scene to do so and does a horrendous job of just spitting out like just give him something to think about to like maybe then start to figure it out.
Well, she goes.
I know the movie can't happen,
but also like she goes from like, oh, I can't be seen like talking to you. We can't do this. To they run away together. But during the course of that, at no point does she make an attempt to tell him what's going on.
Right. You just have to like hand wave that away. But like I don't know the idea they were really trying to highlight. All of the did my door open again?
Yes.
Did you hear that? They really were trying to highlight like all of the like the kind of like the security built in, like where they just like whisk people away when they're doing something they're not supposed to be.
Specifically the one with the father where like you see the two guys, the couple of guys. It actually it's funny because we just did War Games, like with like that scene where he's like walking like down the street and like all of them are very obviously following him. And like that also was the scene where like it was clear that they knew there was a security breach. The father is there somewhere, but they don't make a move to like catch him, or maybe they just hadn't like finally found it. Like they knew he was somewhere in the area, and like the way that they like just come and they just whisk him away, like shove him onto the bus, and then like there's just like army of people who run in the way.
Yeah,
it's like so obvious. But it was also odd because it was one of those things where it's like. There was like a paradox within it where because he was born in this world, he's never known that the world could be anything other than this. Like, how would he ever... It almost felt like at times they were challenging where they're like, how far can we go before he'll realize it? But also on the other hand, like they were giving him television to watch, which would show to him that there was a world of make-believe that exists, And like that should have triggered his suspicion at some point, and yet it doesn't for 30 years.
Well, say yes, but his frame of reference is skewed. So I feel like it's enough for you to get past just to like watch the rest of the movie. But otherwise, I feel like I would be hung up on that.
No, I mean I wasn't hung up on it, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, he must have like either Christoph did such a good job of creating such a quote unquote perfect life for him that he would never question. Or like they didn't understand, like, or he was just like they knew he was such a carefree dolt about like these things that he wasn't going to pick up on it, because they're not giving him present day television, they're giving him I Love Lucy, which was like decades out of date at that point. But still, like to introduce to him the concept of someone making a television show, would naturally trigger. If you ever notice any of this stuff, like, hey, like something seems askew here. But if you never watched an episode of television, why would you ever question that every single thing about your life is real?
Right. Yeah. There's other things they do to him though that are like so unsettling. Like the whole thing with like making him terrified of like the bridge and the water and leaving and killing his dad off, like all of those things. Like it
was J. Walter Weatherman.
Horrible.
All of it was just J. Walter Weatherman. Was that the name of the guy in Arrested Development? The dad's friend with the with the hand,
and that's why you always leave a note.
Yes, they just kept doing that to him.
But just the psychological warfare they play on Truman is insane.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They kept doing that, and his arm kept getting ripped off. And like the same thing. Oh, don't climb on that sand dune. If you do, your dad will drown and die. Like
yeah. Oh my god. Because there's the whole thing with the dad. Then but then you think about like
the girl he has a crush on gets whisked away and sent to a quote unquote insane asylum.
Right, and everything else is orchestrated. His best friend is orchestrated. The only person that he thinks he can trust, his wife, who he starts to question, I think sooner, is like, is a plant, and especially, and then we're gonna have Meryl leave in a couple episodes. It's like just like the planning of it, like, is just so hand wavy, but it's just like they are messing with a human being's concept of reality and life. It's just like, it's really dark. It's just very
they wrote his entire concept of reality, right?
Like, I know. It's bad. It's just really, the whole thing gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I have to say, like, there was a part of me watching the movie and, like, again, not knowing what it was, like, fully knowing what it was about beforehand, where I was like, how do they keep him, like, in this place or whatever? And it's like, okay, like, they actually did come up with a lot of clever solutions to like answer those questions I had along the way, where it's like, oh, like, why would he never think to leave the island? He's terrified of water. He won't cross water. He lives on an island, so he's got to cross water.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, like surely someone's got to call, whatever. I could not fathom that they literally built a dome for this.
Yeah.
They built an all-enclosed dome it's right outside of Hollywood. Like, it's insane. And like, I knew there was something off because the moon was so off, and I knew that was intentional, but I didn't fathom that they would go to the point of they built an all-enclosed dome like that.
I love when the moon becomes a spotlight when they're searching for him.
You know what? Part of me wondered whether Peter Jackson had seen this movie while writing the Lord of the Rings movies, because when they turn it
ISR-esque.
Yes! And this movie came out 3 years before the first movie, before the first Lord of the Rings came out. Like, part of me wondered, because it's one of those big things where, like, big Tolkien heads are like, they never said anything about it being, like, an actual eyeball that's, like, looking at it, like, they talk about it like his gaze wanders and far afield, and, if you were to consider him, picture him in, like, it was meant to be, like, a metaphor. Mm-hmm. Like, he was supposed to be non-corporeal in the books or whatever. But I love that representation in the movies. I love the physical manifestation to show like that intent.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether this, like, the timelines lined up where, like, was there a stroke of inspiration from this movie?
Sure.
Like, it's in reality, probably not.
That would be awesome.
Like, it's not impossible.
No, it's not. Yeah, like I mean, even whether also like there's also the possibility of like not realizing that it was an influence, which is a thing too.
Well, there's also those weird coincidences, right? Where like sometimes these things just line up, and it's like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, we've got an Armageddon deep impact Eye of Sauron.
Well, that's different. Like sometimes we know that sometimes someone has an idea and like someone steals that idea and tries to go to market quicker with the movie, or whatever. But also sometimes there's like weird like coincidences as well. I was thinking more of like in the lines of the fact that like calculus was invented by two people who lived in different countries at like almost exactly the same time in the 1600s, like Newton and some French mathematician whose name is escaping me at the moment. Like basically we're inventing calculus at the exact same time, despite not corresponding during that time.
Amazing.
And like not having overlapping like situations. It was like super weird that like literally within like a year-ish span, they were like coming to some of the same conclusions.
That's crazy. Oh man. Yeah, I think so. Like aside from like all of the darkness, the times where Jim Carrey gets to go full Jim Carrey, and like especially when he's losing his mind because he's starting to see the cracks. Like,
but who reaped the benefits? Christoph, I guess. You said he's losing his mind. I was thinking of that. I was talking about the wedding singer earlier. I was thinking he's losing his mind. I'm reaping all the benefits,
and I am reaping the benefits. But I love when he tries to go into the building and go up the elevator, and you see the panic on the security guards' faces. They're like, "Oh, like what do we do?" And then he goes in the other elevator door, and it's craft services. Like,
yes, that's exactly what it was.
They close the set behind
which did make me wonder. I was like, it's a building. Why is that like set thing in like behind that? I guess it was just one of those things where it's like, he'll never come in this building. He doesn't have a reason to. But it's just like, I just remember thinking while I was watching the scene, I was like, of all the places, why would they set that up there?
Yeah. And then when he tries to leave in the car, when he's got his wife in the car and he's driving around the roundabout, and he's just absolutely going insane. And then he pulls down the street and he's like, well, look at that. All of a sudden, there's all of this traffic. And then he backs up really fast and does it again.
It's so great, too.
Same road, no cars.
And it's such incredible choreography, too, because he pulls down the thing, and literally, there's like 8 cross streets, and a car pulls out of every one of them at the exact same time.
Yes. It's so good.
There must be something going on at the nuclear power plant. It's just like a million people there.
Is there any way around? No, it's and then he just gets out and runs and gets attacked by them. I mean, like the whole thing it's brilliant. I love it. It's just such a, I think one of the parts that gets me every time. So in the beginning of the movie, he does the thing, like he's like, kind of doing a performance in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And they have a camera behind that mirror.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the movie, when he does it with when he draws like the spaceman helmet and whatnot, I love Paul Giamatti going, "Can he see us?" And he's just like freaking out because it's so unsettling. And then they just like they kind of just like fall in love with him, like watching him being ridiculous. And it's just like, man, this guy is something else.
Well, that's the thing all of them do, right? Where like I think there was kind of an aw shucks thing for this whole time, and then like eventually there becomes this whole thing where like everyone doesn't even realize like they're like actively rooting for him, and even against like people have been watching the show for 30 years. Like the 2 old women have been watching the show since it came on television for 30 years. It's like, we go to sleep watching him or whatever, right? Like, there's a guy in the bathtub who, like, I don't know why he spends so much time in the bathtub, but that's neither here nor there.
I think it was more that the situation that was currently going on was too crazy that he couldn't leave the bathtub. I was hoping that was the case.
No, because it also happened when like a previous day where he like things weren't that crazy. There's no way he was still in the bathtub.
That's how he unwinds at the end of the day.
Which
takes a nice soak.
Teach their
watches
own.
The Truman Show. He falls asleep in the bathtub because he did almost drown.
Yeah. And did I read it wrong? Was he like the only person who was upset when the show was ending? I think he is upset, right?
I don't remember,
because that's the whole thing. Is like everyone is cheering for him at the end, which is like was another like cool like dissonant thing where it's like these people are glued to this, they're obsessed with it for years and years and years. And yet they're actively rooting for him to escape at the end, even despite the fact that means the show is going to end.
Yeah.
But I think, unless I'm misremembering, he's like the one person who's upset, right? Because he's like realizes like this is going to be the end of the show.
Maybe I don't. For some reason, I have no recall from him from what they flashed to him for. I do. Well, the only one that like comes to mind is the security guards being like, "Wow, what else is on?"
Yeah, which I thought was great. A great way to like to sign that off. I found myself wondering after the movie. I don't know. Is it better that we don't ever see them actually meet up? Or, like, would you have liked to see...
No, because it's too messy. And it's like a whole other... You would just have to really start to explore the rest of it, I feel like.
You do wonder whether that you suffer ultimately from Lord of the Rings ending if you do that, but...
Yeah.
There's also a part of me that wishes, like, to see that reunion and also to see him... Like, we don't need a whole movie about him, like, coming to terms with what, like, reality is, but, like, there might have been an interesting moment or two of him seeing the world outside of his world.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I didn't ever come to a final thought on which version I would have preferred, but I did think about it for a little while. Like, I liked the ending the way it was, but I was wondering if there was another way to do it as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I didn't think too much about like doing it a different way because I do like the kind of the story's over. Like he's out. Like what happens next could even be a movie because it would be an interesting. It would be like an incredible thing to watch. Like if somebody wrote a script for that, but it's just like this whole story is done with him walking out the door, and I kind of just love that, especially with the closing line too.
Yeah,
that was great. I can't. We have to talk about Christoph just a little bit more. Like the character is so ridiculous, but also such a caricature of so many famous people.
Yeah,
especially in tech. And it's just like I love the one name thing.
Yeah, there was definitely a very Steve Jobs like aspect of his performance.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's a million other like inspirations for that, but
kind of reminded me more of like Johnny Ive from Apple. He was like the designer for so many years. He was like similar. It's just a similar thing. It's just like, but in the Christoph sense, you incredible ass. Just right. I love like he's like evil. Like he's just an evil character. Because to do this to a person is evil, even if you think that it's art. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's psychopathic.
There's definitely a mad scientist vibe to him. Maybe a Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, kind of.
Right, because like it's incredibly controlling and manipulative, and there is a god complex aspect, which are all true things of Dr. Frankenstein. But also, there is it's manifested in an unhealthy way, but there is like a level of care and love for him as well.
Yeah, but it's like misguided. It's like
no, of course, it's an unhealthy, it's a toxic
relationship
for sure. But it doesn't change the fact that like there is a real level of care. It's just manifesting itself in a deeply unhealthy way.
Yeah,
which is like the whole thing with like Dr. Frankenstein, right? Like he wants to create life, but he did it by like robbing graves and like taking an unhealthy like abomination and making it into a living being.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, where it is like his actions like they are straight up psychopathic because he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He's like,
oh yeah,
he's like full on like you said earlier on, like, oh, I did this for you. It's like no,
you did it for you, and it just conveniently happens to be for him as well.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so dark. The sequence that like he becomes like the supervillain at the end though with the sequence with turning up the wind and everything, and like that moment that Paul Giamatti gives us of like, I won't do it. I won't, like in perfect Paul Giamatti voice and like turning it on like 100%,
which is great for like such an apathetic character.
Yeah.
To like then stand on principle in that moment.
But like, and it's just it was just like a highlight of how impactful Truman is for the world, right? Including the people that are working on the show. It's just that was cool. It's such an interesting movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly clever. I mean, like, there are some things that they think of and tackle here that just, like, maybe you consider it in pieces of, like, here and there, and then to see them all, like, put together within this one movie. Like, and like I said, the amount of times where, like, there could have been a billion plot holes in this movie, and there isn't. Like, there's, like, 2 or 3, because they really, like, spent a lot of care and time in addressing, like, even, like, whether or not you want to fully believe or, like, buy every single explanation they come up with. They have an explanation for pretty much any question you'd have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just, like, I hate, it's hard to think about his character, though, because it just makes me so sad, like, just all of the fake people around him, like, and him not knowing it, and then, like,
I mean, the fake friend at the office, the fake boss, like, all of it, like,
the fake mom, the fake wife, that they're gonna, and then Christoph's grand plan, like, the first ever live conception.
Yeah, it was all building to, like, making porn, I guess, at that point.
It was like the security guards, they were like, they never show anything.
Right? Like,
so it was a cut to a breeze and the curtain swing.
Well, it reminds me of, there's a stupid joke in Family Guy where they're talking about how Lois's parents, like, met and, like, got married and all that.
Uh-huh.
And they show, like, a flashback, and they do that whole sequence in black and white because, it's supposed to take place, like, years and years ago. And it's, like, the first time, like, the parents, like get together, and they're, like, shows them, like he, like, I don't know if he, like, sweeps her off his feet or whatever, something like that, and, like, they're, like, doing, like, the very dramatic, like, black and white 1950s, like, and they're, like, giggling or whatever, and the camera pans away to the windowsill as you see, like, the thing, and you hear from off screen Carter going, "Oh, what's the matter? Oh, there's lots of cool stuff going on here, just outside the screen." Like, he, like, makes a joke about how all those old movies would do that to show the tasteful cutaway from, like, what's happening. We don't need to show that,
Oh man, that's so funny.
But yet they wanted to. Well, I guess maybe they weren't going to make more. Maybe they didn't. Want
I don't think they would have. They were,
but they were really
the idea
interested in showing them getting pregnant and having.
But just think about how effed up the whole situation is.
Because you would do a second generation of this,
right? And then it's
the show that never ends.
Yeah. And it goes on and on, my friend.
I mean, fuck, man. We're trying to do AI, like, making a show that never ends. Like, you've seen that, right? I don't remember if we talked about that on the show or not, but, like, there was someone who mentioned the idea of one of these, like, streaming companies using AI to create a show that never ends. Like, it was basically like a forever Seinfeld, where it was, like, gonna be a sitcom where it's just like, there will always be another idea, and we'll just keep making it. And, like, what do you need all of that shit for when you could just kidnap a baby, create an entire show about it, have a kid, and then have the entire show just continue about that kid? Yeah. It'll go on forever.
Oh my god. It's so dark. Oh man, but it is a really well done, like, for such an insane concept. It's a really, like, well done and grounded movie.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. Like, this could have gone batshit off the rails, and, like, it's really, really, like, the script is really strong. How, like, cleverly they detailed out all of this stuff and created these things, and the way they executed. Like, some of it is, like, almost slapstick silly. Some of it's, like, like this. Just so absurd where it's like, should I laugh? Am I just in awe? Like, what exactly am I experiencing in this moment while watching this? And I thought they really did a good job of like rounding out the cast and everything like that. Like, I was not expecting to see Noah Emmerich in this. Like, I like, to me, he almost doesn't exist outside of the Americans. And, like, he doesn't, like, necessarily have, like, a ton of range, but I feel like he's really good at playing this sort of, like, character. Like, there's almost some, like,
elements to that from that show.
I'm looking at his IMDb to see what I know him from, and I think
one episode of The Walking Dead.
No, I think it's that I know him from The Truman Show.
He was in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he was. He was the scientist in season 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I was like, I know that guy. It's because I haven't seen this movie in a really long time, and I know him from this movie.
He was in, like, 2 episodes of Billions. He directed a couple episodes, I think, as well.
And 2 episodes is exactly right, according to... He was in Masters of None.
Was it? I don't remember that.
Nah, it says 1 episode.
Huh. Yeah, no. Well, I remember the reason I remember he was specifically in 2 episodes of Billions is because they introduced him in, I want to say, the first season as like one of Damian Lewis's like best friends, and he like betrays him to like make a buck, but he doesn't realize he's betraying him. Like it's not done maliciously, and Damian Lewis figures it out, and he like cuts him out entirely, and then like 4 seasons later, he's just like in a scene, and it's like. Wait, when did they like reconcile? Like he's just like back in the show now, but like that was the only other episode he was in. It was like really weird.
That's so funny. That's bizarre. I was looking to see if there's anybody else that I like recognize. Like I know the name. Like I knew the name. I know the name Laura Linney. Was she in Ozark?
Yeah, she's one of the main characters.
Okay,
Ozark. She was also in Love Actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those are the only. I've never watched Ozark, but I did know she was one of the leads in that. I have actually seen her in this and Love Actually. I'm pretty sure that's all I've ever really seen her in. But she did a good job too. I mean, like that's not like a super easy role to play his wife in this such a weird and like there's like this whole meta like thing of like her playing his wife, but also it's her playing someone who's playing his wife. Like, and like the fact that that's a role that's super low, like that's actually probably one of the most interesting aspects of this, right? Like there are actors and actresses who've been on soap operas for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now they get off seasons, right? Like soap operas run for however many months and then they're off for however many months and then they run for however many months. And, like, I have no idea what the shooting schedule is like for those shows, but, like, those people aren't acting 24/7.
Right.
These people are acting 24/7.
It's a lifestyle.
Well, sure.
That's what she says. Right?
I know. But, like, think about it. And again, there's a little bit of dissonance when they show the flashback to when they never made it clear. Were they in high school or in college in that flashback?
I think they were supposed to in high school, but...
it was so hard to tell because they were the exact same actors, and they did not even make an attempt to make them look younger.
No, they did not.
They look exactly the same, which I like kind of laughed at.
Yeah,
but
same.
Whatever. Think about it. You're an actor. You're a child actor. You're playing a role at 15 years old as we're going to be the friends of this guy in high school. And then one of us is going to get married to him and the other one of us is going to be his best friend. And we're just going to do that forever.
Forever?
Right? Like, for as insane as it is that they didn't tell him about this, whatever, like, they can never not be... Like, it's not like they don't... Like, at the end of the day, they get to, like, go home to their wife or husband and, like, live a normal life on Saturday.
Yep.
Their life is the show. But, like, the fucked up part is... They know about it. It's almost more fucked up for them that they. Yeah. It's almost like a prison sentence.
Yeah, it's a little weird. The thing that got me, I completely agree with you. Except it's almost as bad for them.
I said
it's
almost. I stressed almost.
Yeah, but the thing that got me, because I agree with you, and I was thinking about that. But in the scene where Truman is kind of losing his mind, and he's got the grater, cutter, shredder. And she's freaking out, and then
and understandably so, because she's like, in her mind, she's got to be fleshing. Oh God, he's having a psychotic break because he's finding out that none of this is real. His entire life is not real.
Yeah, but then she says something along the line, like to the camera.
It's not professional.
It's not professional. I was just like, F you,
because she forgot that while they were all playing a role, the greatest role of all time. He's not playing a role. This is his life.
It's not professional.
It's not professional because he's not a professional. He's not an actor. This is his life.
Oh my God.
But even still, I was like I thought about it. I was like, what's the amount of money they could pay you to do this? And then it's like, there is no amount of money because what is the concept of money in this?
Right.
You're not living a life. Like, what are you spending that money on?
Right, because you're there in the dome, presumably, all the time.
Not presumably. There's no other option.
Well, there's exits.
Sure, but...
Do they go on vacation every once in a while and leave?
Actually, that was really funny. The whole idea of taking him to Mount Rushmore when he was a kid, and he was like,
oh my God.
I thought it would be bigger. And it's like, like they knocked him out and drove the car in circles for a few hours, and then woke him up, and there was a Mount Rushmore. But like, that's what I'm saying is like, there is no, at the end of the day, the cameras turn off and they go home.
Right.
Or like, hey, I'm off this weekend, or I'm taking a week off. How? There's no way.
Oh my God.
Those people can't leave the dome.
It's so messed up.
Like, the extras, some extra could leave the dome, right? Because it's like, hey, there's people who live in your town who you don't see every single day. Your wife.
It's going to be man with flowers, girl on a bike, beetle. Yes!
Think about it. If you're his wife, that is a 24/7 job.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, they're paying you and you go out and you go home to your family. Or you go out with your friends. Like that doesn't
It
exist.
only works if all of the casts are twins. And
so you're gonna do the Prestige and like, you know, they change like every.
They knock them in and out here and there, yeah. Oh my God. This is just
do you love
ridiculous.
me? Not today. Today. That's the
truth. Oh man. It's quite the movie. You know what scene I love? When he gets in the hospital, when he sneaks into the hospital, and he's like, and the guy comes out with the cart to try to kind of block him on the hallway, and he just grabs it, and he pushes it down the hallway, and then he goes, he's like looking into the OR, and the doctor is clearly like, "What the fuck do I do?"
Well, any of the times that they break the fourth wall, and it's like, this is an actor, not a doctor, or not a bus driver.
Yeah, we're gonna make this.
Or I guess he was a bus driver, but he wasn't a boat captain, whatever.
Cut right above the knee. Yeah, the bus driver too. He doesn't know how to drive a bus either. He's just an actor. He was just there. He was never meant to drive it, which is why he starts grinding the gears when he's like, "Oh, okay, I guess we'll."
Oh no.
Go.
Actually, so I thought that was what it was at first too, and then I realized no, they told him to do that so that they had an excuse to get everyone off the bus. Because the whole thing was that he wasn't going to be allowed to leave and go to Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought he also couldn't drive the bus.
I thought that as well at first, but then I realized what he did was intentional. It was like, it took someone who knew how to drive a bus to intentionally
break it that way.
Fuck it up like that. And it was like him like almost like deprogramming from like doing it right to I gotta do this wrong.
Yeah.
Because then at later he's like I can't drive this. I just know how to drive a bus. It's like they probably had him anytime he went near the bus station, right? He's going to take the thing, put it in drive. He's going to drive around the block. What's he's going to leave, and then he's going to come back, park, and everyone's going to get back off the bus. Right? Like, you know. So he probably knew how to drive a bus. He probably drove it a quarter of a mile, like once a week or some shit, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God. So ridiculous. Anyway, great movie. Really, really, really holds up. Really worth the watch. Excellent performances. Any closing thoughts?
No, I think we covered a pretty good amount of it. This was a good one. I'm glad that this caught me spur of the moment. This has been on my list for a long time. I know you had seen it. I know you'd liked it. I know we like mentioned it in the past once or twice. And like I have my list of things that are like short to medium term where it's like I want to get to this, I want to get to that, and then I have always a list of like random. It's a long list. I don't have it written down. Don't need it written down because every once in a while I'll just like, what's a thing I've been thinking of, or I'll be like, whatever. And like, so like I was scrolling through the guide the other day and I saw this movie on one of the movie channels. I was like, now's the time.
There we go.
It was like, hit record. I was like, I'll watch that this weekend. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I sat down to watch it and I was like, shit, it's been a week and a half since we recorded. Me and Anthony left it open-ended. We still haven't like addressed what we're going to do this week. If I just mention Anthony, I'm watching this. This is what we're going to do. I know he's going to be on board. Here we are.
100%. Nice. Awesome. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthe6@thespintune.com. Tune in next time for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Biolsi.
Thanks for coming out.